your first name?
My Moses is my first name.
dope.
My artist. I also go by Kor. I also go by Buni Kor. I have a lot of different names, but I was born Moses. Moses Brown.
Do you ever ask your folks why they named you Moses?
I do. I actually know why, but it's kind of really.
No.
In African culture, people really name the kids, at least in my family, really practically. So it'd be like, oh, I was in this house, and the person who was in the house was named Moses, and we conceived you in the house.
Yeah.
So then that person's Moses. Or there's ways, or it's a situation where there's a kid, somebody named Lasoba, and it means like, oh, the child before you passed away. So it's like your
literal.
Yeah. So there's
names are telling a story.
Yeah,
they continue a
narrative. So then it's like, so that's what was going on around. Or even sometimes they name the kid like Adui, and Adui means enemy, and it could be like, oh, maybe the people around weren't really happy about the situation. So there's a larger context with the name, and names carry so powerful meanings and like. So initially it's a huge conversation. I think, to name something.
Wow, crazy. Wow. See, that's the amazing part about other cultures, and that's what makes it so ignorant. Our culture so ignorant is that we don't really, that's their culture. We're quick to do this with people. But there's so much education, so many things we can learn from just something like that.
But this is the first ever culture.
Yes.
This is not like a culture that grew off of another culture. This is the origin of human communication, education, and community building. This is the fucking origin.
And it's like, it's so funny because it's like, it's so old that it's almost like, it's like technology. When something's so efficient, it seems like it's nothing. It seems so easy.
Yeah.
Like literally when you open a door, you just know what to do.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, oh wow, figuring out how to open the door. It's just like, it's been so integrated into people's awareness that it's like you don't even think about it. So you on the base level could be doing like super amazing things, but you don't even really know. Because it's just like whatever.
Autopilot.
Really, it's just like, oh, I just was able to do that or dance or express myself in a way. It's like, oh, that's whatever. But it's like, well, that was.
Do you think talents are God given, or are they discovered at such a young age? Like something triggers an ability. Are you given this ability? Like, are you born an amazing singer, or did it take you time to become an amazing singer?
I personally think that wisdom is something that is inherent, and everyone has it within themselves. Intellect and book knowledge, like you can't teach you what you already have. It can basically remind you if you don't know. And I think for some people, some cultures, they may not have a direct connect to like how to source their power.
Yeah.
I believe to source your power, you need to just be connected with yourself. Like you need to take some time, invest in self-development and self-awareness to tap in. But you can also be reminded by books and other things like that. But I feel like the top power and talent is there. It's just maybe waiting for the right moment, catalyst to bring that awareness. I'm pretty sure like everyone here, like sometimes you see something and it's like, damn, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then once you see that, just kind of it like triggers something within yourself, and then you're like, well, I can do that too. Or that's something that I want to do. And I think like exposure is a huge thing to new environments and like you said, different cultures is a very powerful thing because sometimes, at least for myself, it's like that's how I became more aware of myself, was watching other people and how other people do things.
And what kind of music did you have playing in the house when you were a kid? Like, what's the earliest music you
Wait, before you answer, High Face Podcast, ALITE, ACDJ, Moses, aka Osmoses,
aka Kor, aka Buni Kor,
aka was R&B sing your ass naked into a bed.
Yeah.
Baby making music all day, every day.
Appreciate it.
That's pretty high.
But yeah, so what kind of music were you?
Really everything. I'm the youngest of like 16 kids.
16 kids?
Yeah, something like that.
Damn.
I'm not even quite sure about the number. That's not no pressure. My parents or anything like that.
Pressure.
Just different culture. But I was born as the youngest. Shout out to I have another sibling, just younger sister than me that was born a couple of years ago. But for the most part, like I grew up as the youngest of a big family. So like I have people in my family at different generations, siblings that may be in a different generation than me. So me being around them and having the influence of what they listen to. So it was a huge span of whether it be R&B. So only my parents stuff, African music, soul music, R&B, and then whatever was on like BET or MTV or Much Music or like whatever.
Well, you asked specifically, do you think the talent is God-given, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you remember a moment? Because I have a moment personally, right?
Like when you knew
thought
that this was
like,
your...
oh shit, I can probably do this.
I know that.
Yeah.
Do you have a moment?
Oh, I tell you how I got motivated into
That's good.
creating art.
Yeah.
In that way, like like every, young millennial kid, you have a computer and you have voice notes and all that type of stuff. So I would just sing and record at home and like whatever privately, my own thing. It was like my own vocal diary and just play around and stuff. I had the idea that I liked music and I had a very strong ear, like I could listen and copy things and all that type of stuff. So I was just playing at home, like singing and recording all the stuff. And then one time, I get a phone call from somebody in my family. It's like, come home right now, right? So I was just like, whoa, what the hell's going on? I was at work or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I didn't had no idea.
Yeah.
And then
who was this that called? Was this like your dad?
I can't remember who it was.
Which one? Just one of them. 16 of them.
Well,
holy shit.
Well, one of them, and so I came home and I was just like, what the hell's going on? And then what had happened is there was a function going on in my house, and so they wanted to play some music off of the computer, and they ended up playing, and it was my stuff that I recorded privately.
And Quincy Davis happened to be in the room, or some shit.
And it was just really like, whoa! It was
So the whole family was exposed to you singing.
In that way,
I know you were singing some '90s R&B or something.
It was like whatever, but I think people always knew that I would sing around the house. Like I'd be singing all the time. I think earlier my mom, like, she'd be like, "How do you know this song?" Like, you just heard it. I just heard it. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's just I resonate with sound. Sound is like the most healing and supportive thing. So I'm still messing with it. Yeah.
Do you hear like a high pitch and all of a sudden you go fucking nuts, like something inside of you got to get away from that sound? Like, does that happen?
It's something like actually like no.
Yeah, like a high pitched noise, like, oh man, that one just hurts me.
Something obtuse.
Yeah, or something really low. Like, do you vibrate on that level?
I actually love the range of sonics. Like, so I I think like the most, I love when people play with their voice. I love when people can like there's really talented singers, like whether it be like Maxwell, D'Angelo, or Jasmine Sullivan, or Michael Jackson, like just constantly changing your voice. I think it's interesting. I like the texture, so I'm open to various sounds, but I don't think that there's a sound that I'm like, ugh. You know what I mean? I tend to, if that did happen, I would stop listening. You know, it's like, it's kind of like erase that. Let's kind of move on.
Okay, so I'm obsessed with technique of R&B singers. Like, I'm obsessed with the techniques.
I don't know about that.
Prince, MJ, the variations in the voices, like you were saying earlier. So Maxwell, Woman's Worth, one of the hardest motherfucking songs to sing. Yeah. And you just get out there and rock the fuck out of that falsetto.
I think, but the thing is, it's funny about that. Like, there's certain people that, like, I guess musically, there's certain people that I think everyone hears and they just
you connect with
it. You just like,
you know that's my voice.
It's just like that's
my read.
Like that shit right there, that hit different. Like that resonates at a point. And it's a gift when you like, it's like almost your brain stops for a moment and just like, wait a minute, like what?
Well, because see, for me, that's brave as fuck. Because here's the thing, okay?
The vulnerability of like that.
No, falsetto.
Oh yeah, falsetto.
You know this shit is not easy. People that hear R&B singers and they hear falsettos, you know that Frank Ocean does that "Think About You" all the way up there. You know, because when a falsetto is off, it is very bad on the ear.
It is.
You cannot help but notice it.
Yeah.
It hits you in the face.
A lot of them do it live and they they eat it. You know what I mean?
Because it's a different
thing.
thing.
Even Mariah live, it's like eating it a lot of times.
But
she's a legend though.
But she's legend. Don't get me wrong.
So you obviously put in years of work to perfect the falsetto because your falsetto is tight, man.
You know what's interesting about that? Like that's actually the easier part of my voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that's the gift.
The reason why it is just because like I have like 9 older sisters.
Yeah.
And so they're always playing and I have like 5 older brothers. But
Yeah.
my sisters were always playing like Whitney Houston, R&B, like Mariah Carey. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of feminine type of higher type of sonics that I would just listen to. Whether I had a choice or not. You're in the back of the house, that's what you're hearing. You're in like there's a party where that's what you're hearing. So then it's just like, okay, and then you just copy and you're playing around to copy and mimic and then it's like, oh, I can actually match that tone or I can get close to it. And then
You feel this.
I really think I love the voice. I want to get better at it. I think it's like music is it's like self-development. It's an art form.
Absolutely.
So it's like you can learn
Is the
about
voice an instrument or is the voice standalone?
I think the voice is an instrument that can sound like anything. Like you can sing. Some people sing like violins.
Oh yeah.
Some people sing like trumpets. Some people sing like you
beatbox.
or guitar, beatbox,
Yeah.
or guitars. Like you know, Prince sings a guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you hear like it's like that guy.
Next level.
That's the homie. Like that's just like as far as like people that embody music, it'd be like Prince and Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder in my mind, and there's a whole bunch of other people too. They're just musical in everything they do.
Yeah.
It's like just
It's
it's them. Like they're channeling. It's like that force because like.
Do you ever eat it on stage and just fall on your face?
No.
Eat it and fall in
Eat
your
it
face?
by
Like literally or metaphorically?
Metaphorically,
Okay.
have a shit outing because like,
That's a little bit different.
I sing for fun, but I rap on stage. And rapping on stage, I'm a fucking technician. I don't miss shit ever. I'm very ridiculous. But singing on stage is a different thing because your heart rate gets up, you get a little excited, you see someone that's flying, like, oh fuck, everything's starting to change.
Yeah.
You ever fall on your
Music,
face?
singing is very, it's very vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's a very vulnerable thing to do. That's why, especially because you're just really just like exposing yourself.
Yeah.
And even like to this day, there's like a level of vulnerability that comes when I share, because it's just like, you know, it's just like you care about something so much, and you hopefully the people it translates, but sometimes you know, it's just like rapping is you can hide. I feel like you can hide with the
persona.
You know, you can put something exactly.
Yeah.
But when you're singing, it's just like this is you. This is who you are right now.
Just describe the feeling to people that don't know what it's like to sing a song that you wrote and composed for the first time in front of a live audience.
Oh, wow. Interesting. It's very. It can be. It's interesting. I think it's exhilarating. It's thrilling. I think like one of the things that I learned like as within performing or singing, because part of what we do, the organization I'm a part of that I was a founder in Afro and Connect, we would link up and have like some level of just like jam, open expression points where people would just express themselves in the mic and like.
So it can be
so you just kind of like in opening yourself up in that way, but when you haven't done it, it's a very vulnerable space because it's like, are people gonna judge me? Am I going to do what it is? Does it sound right in my mind the way that it sounds out in the street? Like
because we see talent shows and people think they can sing and go on stage.
Oh,
and you're like, who the fuck told you can sing?
Yeah.
Why are
never sing at a talent show? Always rap.
Oh, yeah. Well, you
always
that's
go because you're right? Because you can hide or whatever, but at least if you fuck up or you forget the words, you just move the crowd, right?
Totally.
And
I think that's the key right there that you just said. That's a gem that you can add with singing. It's just like when you like trying to connect with the audience or connect with somebody, like find someone and sing to them.
Yeah. Like
connect with that person and have that. It really makes a difference. And also realize that like when you sing sometimes or you perform sometimes, it's like, oh, it's just me by myself. But I don't like that feeling. So it's just like it's like you repeat after me.
Yes.
You know? And so then we're having an experience.
That's big.
And then once we're having an experience, you're not worried about me. It's not about like, oh, that guy's singing or he didn't make all the notes. It doesn't even matter. It's like I had an experience. You know, I got to sing.
Dude,
forget me, you got to sing.
Yeah, and I can't believe how many people that say their performance can't get the simple part of performing dance is engaging the crowd. You have to get people involved, man. Because the people involved, they're having fun. And the second they're having fun, that's it. Take them wherever you want.
The most important thing that an artist can do, in my opinion, is first of all, drop the fucking ego at the door.
Oh, that's so hard though.
Learn to drop that ego as quickly as you can, as soon as you get into the game.
You don't think ego helps you though?
Ego does not help you. Ego prevents you. There's something what you're talking about is different. That's not ego.
Okay.
That's confidence. You got to get to a point where you just show up and do what you do best, because that's just what you do. Like,
totally.
Right? That's it. And that's not ego, dude. That's just talent.
But that's also too, like I was saying, like the agency to own who you are.
Yeah.
And to own your expression and to own your body and your way of being. Like, this is mine. And so I get to determine what it is.
Yeah.
And nobody else does.
Yeah.
You can have your opinion of life, because that's what we're here. There's all these things going on. You can have your opinion. But I'm me, and I decide what I do and what I don't do. And if I'm confident that I did my best, I did my best. You know? And it's like, when you have that level of agency and authority over yourself, it shifts the conversation. Like, it really, then you can just be like, I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me an opportunity to say what I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to say what I got to say.
Yeah.
Totally.
But that's so not easy, man. You're self-aware. And that's not a gift that people have. That takes years of work.
Yeah, that takes a lot of work, and I'm not going to front on that. That definitely does. But I'm really happy that I'm able to have that connection, because then it can make things more enjoyable, and it can allow me to lean into the experience more, because it's mine.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not my parents, it's not the society's, it's my experience. So if I want to have that experience, the only person that's holding me back is me. So I can take it, like, and I can make it happen. And then that's a whole different type of consciousness right there. Like,
enjoying it is so important.
You're free, and it's like there's all of the well, you didn't win a Grammy. Well, it's like, what is that even? Like, that has nothing to do with whether you like it or not. I'm experiencing this. This is an experiential thing.
Yes.
This is something that's making me feel good and empowering me. If you're getting some support out of it, I'm happy about that. That's great. But it's really rooted in myself, and it's really rooted in supporting me. And I know, typically, like, in that self-help awareness, you're supporting yourself, you're supporting other people.
Yeah. Oof. So, obviously, you mentioned the Grammys. This kind of stuff's becoming irrelevant.
It's interesting.
Like awards, you mean?
Yeah. These award shows, since COVID, the award shows have been really bad. And I don't know they're trying, but dude, shit's bad, man.
Totally.
Yeah, but it was just in America, really. If you think of America, forced us to give a shit about the trophies. They forced us because that's their motto. Who's better?
That's
you or me?
Well, that's their only export, right?
Yeah.
There is the media, right? Entertainment is their only export.
So they have to come up with that shit. And that lasted for a good 30, 40 years, right? And it was only after, Halle Berry and Denzel won the two big categories that people started shitting on everything, right? Do you notice that?
Yeah, well, and even their wins, dude, their wins are bullshit. They're just tokens.
They're token wins, but listen, Denzel killed that motherfucking role.
Dude, Denzel killed Malcolm
That
X.
Training Day is the best
Yeah.
movie of Denzel's career.
No, man, he killed Malcolm.
He did a lot.
Malcolm was great.
He did a lot of things.
Do the right thing, Ricochet. Dude,
You watch his
Denzel
face though.
is funny.
He's
though.
fucking.
He's just a good actor. I think it was just like, oh, you did all this good work, we're just gonna give it to you.
Yeah, you think that it was?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way the industry works.
Lame.
It's
Just
based on somebody else's metric.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. It's like there's a whole other cabal or awareness that goes on in this culture that people will be operating. There's people dictating to you what is relevant and what is not.
Yeah.
But that's not the truth. Like, what is relevant is what you decide it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're moving to, because of social media and the new algorithms and stuff like that, people are watching this.
Yeah.
So, and people are paying attention to that. So you can't make that person relevant to me if they're not.
Facts.
You know, you can promote it.
Yeah.
You can put it on the main page of Netflix and all this, or whatever streaming site, whatever. But then it's just like, if I'm not truly resonating with it, it has no merit or value for me. And I think that's what they're realizing, where now it's like a lateral thing. It's well, let's just promote everything. And because as an artist, There's an audience for everyone, and like, and the metric is totally different right now. It's like it's more so about catering and supporting as opposed to like denying and being like, okay, you can't be this. It's like, well, if people actually support you and people like what you're doing, then what you're doing has relevance, and it needs to be supported.
You just gotta. I mean, I think people are understanding that you gotta kind of find your tribe.
Back if you want. You can take the mic with you.
Hey,
you can take the mic off there. You don't have to.
What's up? Yeah.
You know your way around microphone. You guys are all
okay.
Yeah, no, like, people can directly find their tribe and build a niche audience and have a career.
Totally. Yeah. And that's the coolest thing, that like to really know that the life that you want is possible. Defining success is a huge thing. Like, what is success to you is really the question that we need to ask ourselves right now. Because when you talk about the award shows and no longer being relevant, and other people's standards of ways of being isn't relevant anymore. So what is relevant to me? Yeah. Because all that I know is what people told me and what I saw, but that may not actually be what is for me. And I think that's where my personal growth was there was a disconnect between what was being offered to me as a reality and what I wanted internally for myself. And as long as I was trying to align with that external reality, I'm not going to be happy because somebody else created that. So my whole entire awareness now was like inner space. Like, I go in here to figure it out. I go in here to feel it out. I become aware of what's here. And if it resonates with me here, then I do it. If it doesn't resonate in here, then I don't do it.
When did you start feeling so assured of yourself?
It was something like recently, really, man. Like COVID and everything was kind of the last of like, there was a point where I had like an internal awareness where I was like, I knew I was changing and it was scary as hell. Like, it was like, it is really scary and painful because it's like, a part of me was not going to come back anymore. Like, that part of me that would give my responsibility away to other people or that could always blame somebody because at the end of the day, you know, it's not my fault. It's because of my parents, it's because of the society, it's because of this. That part was, I was becoming aware that based on the things that I wanted to do, I had to become more responsible and accountable to myself. And so I couldn't be irresponsible or not move in integrity within certain things. So then that was like a scary thing. It was like a death. And it was almost like a lifestyle that I was associating with and friends and everything. So it's like even some family dynamics that you're just like, I can't support this anymore because it's going to undermine where I'm meant to go. And I have to release it. And so that's the hardest thing. It's like you dying and you wish you were alive. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think people understand, especially for people that are from any kind of ethnic background, that relationship with your parents and that connection is, you're almost subservient to your parents until they die, essentially, in Indian culture and in most ethnic cultures, right?
Their traditions and stuff.
Yeah, it's very, very broken. But once you break that, like, I grew up like pretty hardcore Muslim.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Read the Quran and all that stuff. Like, it was deep, right? And the thing about a religion, when it's forced upon you as a kid, you don't realize that that's not what your belief is. You just automatically assume, I believe this. This is how I feel about it.
Totally.
And it completely changes your idea of who you are, because I don't think people get the thing about the Islamic faith, right? Everything is dictated by Islam. You wake up, you give thanks to God. Before you eat, you give thanks to God. Before you drink, you give thanks to God. Every single movement of your life is occupied by Islam, right? It can be a beautiful thing, but when you're a kid and that's the only influence you get, you start doubting science. You don't really.
That's where the thing is, like, coming into the awareness of what I find living intentionally, because that's what Islam is all about. Like niyyah. Nia is intention. So you move with intention. So you do nothing without intention. So if I walk in the room, I'm going to say, I intend to have a great conversation with these brothers that's going to be impactful. I leave the space. Hopefully these people that I'm leaving the space are going to be well as I go into and I think that's a beautiful thing. But those type of things, like, I feel like one needs to develop in their own self. I think when some things are forced upon you, then the magic dies. You know, you don't really get the power of what that is. And I think that sometimes the way that we were offered the religion was not in the most loving way. It was it was like some level of some level of control and dictation and like it was more sort of power thing. And it became not like me connecting with myself, which is what it's about, and the creator. It became about I don't want to go to hell because music is haram. Dancing is
For
haram.
real.
Everything that I naturally do and way of being me is not okay. And so that just set me up for walking through space for years in shame. Because I'm not enough.
You were hiding.
You're not enough. You're just like, there's something wrong with you.
Was it really disciplined in your life? Like
it gave me a lot of lovely things. Islam is a beautiful religion, and like, you know, I think what we both understand is a very powerful
and they're big ideas.
And it is, and it's so integrated within my awareness that I still pray and I still move in certain ways because I know the benefit, and I've connected to it.
Yeah.
It's not about.
That's a different thing.
That's a total different thing.
Oh, 100%.
It's not about like I'm performative. It's not like I'm performing for other people.
Yeah.
These are things and rituals that I do for me, and I think that's where that space should be, at least in my awareness, like spirituality and connecting to higher powers. Is you define that.
100%.
You decide what that is, and I can't force that upon you. Or try to dictate to you, because it's such a personal relationship to the point where, like, if you're in the middle of the street and you're lost, you got to be able to navigate out of there. That person that's been telling you all the time, the book, you may not have the book, you're going to have to find something to be like, okay, I'm going to trust this brother because something resonated for me. He may not be Muslim, he may be Christian, he may be a Jew, he may be somebody that culturally I should not trust, let's say, or I should not connect with because whatever the race, whatever. But something to me tells me that this is a safe and right thing to do, and I'm more so opt to listen to that than subscribing to a self-help book.
Forced beliefs. Well, and I don't think people understand to absorb a belief system like that. The big ideas, like Islam has big ideas, Christianity has big ideas. These are all very grand concepts of being like, you know, turning the other cheek and being a big person. All these ideas, if you're not a good person to begin with and you get religion in your life, it just makes you a shitty person that believes in religion. Right? You have to come to a place of self-awareness to even be able to look at religion in a way that's healthy. Because the fucked up thing is when you grow into being able to read and understand shit, and you see passages where it says that you can hit your wife, don't leave a bruise, right? Yeah. Stupid shit like this.
Use a phone book.
So you read this, right? And you're like, okay,
just laughing at the hysteria.
Don't worry,
right? And then
I grew up with all women.
Well, and then you look at the Bible, same thing. You can hit a woman, you know, just don't leave marks.
Yeah.
Who put this part of it?
Yeah, I think that's where like this King James version 376. You know, when there's always an addendum added, another auxiliary chapter added, depending upon the times. But it's just used to control people. And I think that we're in, you know, when people talk about like with Aquarian age, or we're in a space where there's information and there's awareness, I know there's certain spaces where people are still under a covering, but the opportunity to get clear in something has always been there through asking questions, you know? But usually in those religious spaces, like, don't ask questions.
Nah, you're not lying.
It's just like, just accept. Accept what I'm telling you. You're like, even I believe in the Mormon religion, there was the reason why black people are black is because they denied denied some level of connection to the so-called creator, and then as a curse they were made to give you dark skin. So there's some people walking around this world thinking that if you have dark skin you're cursed, and it's because of a religious doctrine that's perpetuating some level of value or some level of awareness of like better than in order to bring connection. Like the root of your religion is like hate, judgment, othering, you know, xenophobic, and that's what we're getting along for. That's
so what you're saying is that Karl Malone was cursed the day he signed the Utah Jazz.
He took
the Mormon Utah Jazz curse.
Don't they believe in some kind of spaceships and stuff too? Right? Well, it's this whole colorism thing is probably one of the biggest problems that gets brought up here actually quite a bit. Because,
is it?
Like even in the Hindu religion, which is probably considered one of the oldest religions to exist, right? The idea of the caste system and colorism from like light skin Indian down to dark skin, that's not a part of Hinduism. That's introduced from like the Anglo-Saxon Anglo-Saxon invasions from like the 14, 1500s. White people, okay?
Yeah.
From Europe or whatever
Brainwashing,
came to India and they started to introduce these, ownership properties into the lighter skinned
generational
Indians.
brainwashing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lasted for 400, 500, even to this day, man. Dude, Bollywood is the lightest skinned industry.
And then when you go to southern India, there's people
And
darker than me.
Yeah, well, the majority,
so
the majority of India is brown.
yes,
Really
A very
brown.
small minority that's very light skinned,
Yeah.
and it just so happens that they're all working
On
in
TV.
Bollywood. Yeah, and they have like the Fair and Lovely creams, also the bullshit.
Yeah.
I was talking to a coworker of mine that's Chinese, and in their culture, the same thing, man. The lighter skin you are, the more valuable
Yeah,
you are.
adjacency to whiteness. I think it's because but these are the awarenesses now that we're evolving past. And we're realizing that you have a response. Like it just got to the point where like I said, the conversation about agency and being willing to see yourself and stand for yourself. You thinking you're less than in any particular way undermines you from having the life that you deserve.
Yeah, you don't get that opportunity.
So
you've already talked yourself out of your own game.
Yeah, you already did. So it's like other people are perpetuating it, but then you're keeping it going.
You keep it alive, right?
You're keeping it going. So then the question is, that's the real question. Why am I keeping this
such
going?
a great comment, man.
So how do you help people out of that?
I think that like the life will help you out of that. I think when you get sick and tired, like there's a point when you have a real conversation with yourself that you're like, this does not make sense. I'm tired of feeling bad all the time for nothing. Mm-hmm. I didn't even do anything. I walked out of the room and somebody had a problem with me.
Yeah.
I didn't even say nothing to you. You looking at me like there's something, like I did something wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe that, and that's really isn't. And then coming to realize that in full circle, it's like that person was just projecting their own insecurities and their own shame onto me, and I was just sensitive, and I took it and internalized it.
See,
then I made it my responsibility, like internalizing it to therefore change my behavior to hopefully make that person less upset or less uncomfortable.
Right.
So then you start to remove your cultural sentiments or reduce your blackness or your culture to assimilate in a way to make other people feel comfortable. Yeah. But there's no amount of way in which you can suppress yourself that will make motherfuckers feel comfortable. Yeah. If a nigga is mad, excuse my language, if somebody is mad, they're going to they're just gonna be mad. And there's nothing you can do about it. It has nothing to do with you. Like there's nothing you can do enough. And as a people pleaser, which a lot of people are, you be out here trying to save everybody, but you can't. So it gets to a point where it's like, you know what? I really need to be other people's problems are other people's problems, and I need to just really focus back on my.
Really, is the secret to living a good life. Just focus on yourself. Like really, this is truly the age of being selfish.
It is. I think we're moving to a point where like everything is. When you think about like
good selfish.
Good selfish in the sense of like if I'm honoring and loving myself respectfully, I'm doing you a service. If I'm like, you know what, I'm not really feeling great today, I'm gonna call into work and be like, you know, I'm not feeling really well. Work today. Can I get a day off? Okay, sure. And then I just saved everyone in the office from dealing with my funk.
Yeah.
For my
people don't do that. They want victims.
You know what I mean? It's like I didn't have to do that. That was something was going on internally within myself that I made it everyone's issue. And that's when that microaggression happens. And then you stepped in my toes yesterday, then I'm gonna see you, I'm gonna step in your toes next week.
Yeah, you're it.
And then we're going back and forth and but if somebody has to take responsibility and be like, yo, like what's happening with me right now has nothing to do with anybody. And I need to decide, I need to learn what is actually happening to me because I'm black and what is actually happening because it's just me.
Right.
I need to be able to differentiate between those two. And it can't always, it's like feelings and emotions.
That's very mature.
Your feelings and emotions are two separate things. But a lot of people mix them together and then it becomes a mess. Because then it's like, I feel that you're a bad guy. Is that really a feeling or is that an emotional based upon some past experience or trauma that you had? Because that's two different things.
So how do you not react in a way that's impulsive and aggressive? Because honestly, thankfully, I don't get a lot of that kind of bullshit now. I used to be a lot smaller and I got a lot of that kind of, shitty racist behavior, but a lot bigger now. They look a little intimidating and people don't give me that shit. But how do you not want to just fucking backhand somebody?
I think that that's the truth. You feel enraged. You know what I mean? I think that one of those things that is like, it's just like, that, for me, the rage led to like, I'm a very natural introspective person. So it was just like, what? And I initially went to like, what am I doing? Like, why am I having this experience?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the thing about that, one has to know that nobody deserves to be disrespected.
Facts.
In any
way, man.
In any capacity.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're being undermined in any particular way, speak about it as soon as you feel it.
Yeah.
Because speak or forever hold your peace, because it will happen again.
Yes.
And then at that particular point, it's on you because you didn't take accountability. That's where I said honoring your feelings. If I don't feel it, I don't feel it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to play myself, because I played myself, like denying my feelings to make other people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, it's like, you felt that for a reason.
Yeah.
It didn't feel safe. You went there anyway. Something happened to you. And then you have trauma because you took yourself to place. So then you feel like you betrayed yourself because you didn't listen to yourself. And you walk around with shame.
That's the worst feeling.
It's like, I don't want none of that shit no more.
Yeah.
So if I feel that it isn't a healthy thing for me, then I'm just going to not do it.
It's evolved.
You know, I'm just not going to
What's
do it.
evolved thinking, right? Like, you know, the old days when we were kids and we were younger, we were always told stand and fight. And it really, that theory's out the door now. You can't really stand and fight anymore because it doesn't matter to fight. What matters is what you do with yourself when that happens. What you do after that is what really matters in that whole situation. The action always, if someone does something and calls you a name, it's the action after that matters. It isn't during. It's what you do after. And why it is because that action sets the path for the rest of your life. What happens to you in the moment soon becomes the past, if you really think about it. So someone calls you a fucking N-word or tells you, you know, some word, right? And you sit there and you go, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? Don't think about that moment. Think about, what am I going to do tomorrow? I'm gonna go see my mom tomorrow. Like, I gotta see my mom tomorrow.
Well, you're hitting on the point of like it's a full circle right now, because it's that level of intention.
Yeah.
You know, back to the Islam, it's that level of intention. Like when I left my house,
Y'all how that evolved.
when I left the house, this conversation, I did not leave my house wanting to fight nobody.
Yeah.
I didn't leave my house to be disrespected.
Yeah.
So this is not for me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to acknowledge you. You're trying to get me to acknowledge you. You want my validation so bad. That's why
So
you're doing
bad.
all of these acts to try and get my attention. And I know that. So what I'm going to do is deny you of that.
Yes.
Because if you want to actually connect with me, come real.
Correct.
Come correct.
Yes.
Don't be trying to pull my tail or push me down. That's some juvenile little. That's okay as a kid.
Yeah.
When you can't articulate yourself to be pulling and all that type of stuff.
Exactly.
But as a man, grown man, and woman, if that's what you claim yourself to be, then you're gonna have to have the conversation. Hey, you look like you're really an amazing person. Something about you shines, or something about you is really of value. And I've been observing that, and I just want to let you know that. Is that a problem? Or do I gotta be like, find some way to judge you or something, some auxiliary thing? And I think that we have an issue being direct, and we also have an issue being respectful, because we don't know these type of comments. We don't know how to communicate in this way.
Yeah, dude, just you saying it out loud sounded uncomfortable, because people don't say nice things to each other. They, for real, they don't. Like, they don't really give it up, right? And I think I'm a pretty straightforward person, but I think something's dope, I'll tell someone.
Yeah.
But there's a flip side to it. If I think they're whack, that might come out too, right?
Yeah.
But it's all the same at the end of the day. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, if you're out here in the world, you gotta understand that anybody can say anything to you at any time.
Yes.
And the thing is, you don't want to be caught in the wave where it's just like, you like me, you don't, and then it's just like, then I'm gone. And I only know that to be true because I was that person. I was willow blowing in the wind every which way, just seeking validation and seeking my own worth in other people, and it wasn't there. No, and it will never be there, because they don't even know who they are. Yeah, they're not even connected.
The faster you learn that, the better you are.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, who knows? Where is actually the relationship that you can form with something that's actually real and consistent and strong. And that's where, for
what
me,
is it?
Nature.
Nature, that's a good answer. Yeah, that's a good one for some
nature
people. What year were you born?
I'm born in the late 80s.
Late 80s?
Yeah.
Like 88? Oh, you don't want to say your number?
I'm not saying.
Okay, I was just wondering. Okay.
Doing we're older.
What's that?
I think doing.
But why is it? Well,
because I was just wondering about your connection with nature, your Chinese animal.
Oh, well, I might give it away. But
okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I respect
But it's all good. Like,
no, I respect it. Don't do it because there's things I would not give away even if you fucking held a gun to my sister's head. Okay, I still wouldn't do it right. Yeah, sorry, sis.
Yeah, and it's not because I'm embarrassed about my age and things like that.
No,
I just think that it's just like I think some things are arbitrary. If you want to ask me about my astrology, I'll tell you my zodiac sign and anything like that. But like,
what's your zodiac sign?
In Western, I'm a Capricorn.
Okay.
Moon in Sagittarius and rising is Libra.
Okay, I don't know all that.
Yeah. Well, shout out to all the people out there who know astrology.
Mike's big into the Chinese zodiac.
Okay,
just a little bit.
What's great? Well, I think like my zodiac is like in that context and that awareness, I resonate with what it is. Like it's maybe it's a mystery for people out there. They can find out, but I understand. I resonate with the animal because the animal is very much so like one of the animals that you're just independent.
Mm-hmm. So when you go to the woods, are you fawn or fauna?
Interesting.
First,
well, that's interesting. Fauna or fauna.
Yes.
Because that's like fauna is nature. Fauna is just like the thing.
Yeah.
And then so fawn is
a living being in it.
Yeah. I think it would be fawn.
Yeah, you're more into.
I think like I'm
culture.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's like it's both. I realize that we live in a binary world, but then more people are more expansive than they really think that they are. And I think that the more awareness that I become of myself, the more I realize that, oh yeah, I could be very nature, outdoorsy, like away, silent, but then I do enjoy
the city.
Talking to people, connecting to people. But I think that it's been like, because you're a city boy, you're more so city, and then it's about learning about nature.
Yes.
And then vice versa, if you're a nature person, then it's about learning about the city, and then ultimately, hopefully, having like a best of both worlds, where you're sensitive enough to know when you need to connect with something real, of substance, because you can't fool a natural human being, like somebody who's like really indigenous to the land. Like you can't fool them. So they know what's valuable and not valuable.
Oh yeah.
They know in the deepest part of themselves.
You can feel the energy.
They know.
Of them.
Like you can't you trying to be like, oh no, they'll be like no.
Yeah.
No, because they know real energy. Because out in certain areas, there's like real predators and there's real things out in the wild in the world that you have to. And that's what we're talking about. Like that sense of like you got to know. Like I know this person may not have the best intentions for me, and even though all things look right and everything is pleasant, I have to be able to differentiate and know that. And that doesn't make that person a bad person. It doesn't make them wrong, but just based upon the sensibility of myself and what you said again, the intention. Like I came here to do this, so this is what I want to do. Are these who else is in alignment with what I'm trying to do? That's my only question now in my life. I only live on alignment. Race, all those types of things, gender, sexuality, all this stuff is erased. Right. It's like who is in alignment with the path that I'm here to do and who wants to support me in that. Yeah. And that's just how I've been moving around. And then the gift of that is you end up being the most expansive, amazing people that you never would have thought. You just keep getting surprised every day and realize, wow, like I would never think that you would connect with me on that point or like this, but it's like I get to see the wonderment of life every day in that situation. When you allow yourself to open yourself up to that awareness. Yeah. You know. Could
you actually survive out in the wild by yourself? If you had to?
If I had to, I believe I could.
Like in the bush?
I really believe that I could. And I'm that's something that I'm trying to work to.
Oh, okay.
In the sense of like, that's where I was talking about like this, because I really feel it's like an intuitive thing.
There's part of it,
and a lot of it's intuitive. Like It's like, how do you know what you know? How do you know what you know when you know?
Yeah.
You know, and it's a muscle too. It's something you have to train.
I
So like sometimes like you end up going to a space and you just feel that, oh, this is something that's safe and that isn't. And you got to just trust that. Or that's how our ancestors did it. When they were in the forest, they would look at something and then it would communicate to you in some subtle way, and you'd be like, okay, that could like my stomach's hurting. How can I heal my stomach? And then you go out in nature and be like, oh, yo, that right there could be. It lights up for you, and then you take it, you try it, it's like, oh shit, it worked, and then you're like, okay, that's the urban.
Mark it down.
You know what's crazy?
For your stomach.
You ever watch that show Alone?
Alone?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so this is a show filmed in like BC, and they take people to some islands and stuff in BC, and they drop them alone, and you have to go there and try to survive for the longest, and whoever survives the longest, as many days, wins. Two things I've noticed about this show. One, there's never a fucking colored person on this show. It's always crazy white people, right?
That's white people shit.
Well, no, crazy.
Well, that's what they say. Like I think a lot of times people. That's a big question with land, the connection to land. At Afro Connect, we have a Fair Farms initiative, which is basically trying to connect people with the land that they live on. Because I feel like a lot of people within our communities, or even people that are settlers, have a strong disconnect from the land. You're occupying the space, but you're not integrated within the space. So it's a different thing when you move in space and you're connected to it than when you just like, I'm here. Because then it's just like, why are you littering on something that is actually yours? You know, when it's real like that, why would I be disrespectful to my own house? And then if I am, then I'm disrespectful to myself. And that's why I think a lot more people need to connect to the land. And I think a lot of the history with people of color and connecting to the land, because it's how people came here, whether it be slavery or migration or duress. Currently, in our conscience, there's a lot of mixed feelings in relation to connecting in space. And a lot of times, people feel like they're only stuck in staying in certain neighborhoods, and also redlining and zoning where certain neighborhoods are like, no people of color can be here. We'll arrest you if you're in the area. So when you think about those things, it's like a lot of people have a lot of resistance or uncomfortability moving in space, just in general. Like walking down the street, I don't know if I feel safe, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people feel. I feel that as somebody of African descent, I know a lot of people Africans feel the way, but I know that that's not a feeling that I only feel. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, because of the social agreements and contracts that we made as a community, society, has left people feeling so vulnerable that you're just afraid to even be in the environment. And those are things that have to change. Like I think like hopefully we gotta make new social contracts. You know, you should be able to do ritual in the park if you're connecting with your ancestors and connecting in a real way that supports you. Somebody shouldn't be policing you, being like, get out of here. Like you can't do that. Do you have a license? Do you have a permit? It's like, what?
These guys are having Bible study right fucking here. They're having Bible study in a public park. Is that okay? Right? You see that all the time. Well, it's such a double standard.
People don't feel empowered, right, at all, to live their own lives. Like whether it's from the education system to when you get a job, to even taxation of your paycheck constantly, every fucking day, from the day that you start working until the day that you die, you're paying somebody to work, and all of those things compounded. Nobody feels empowered to do anything that's worthwhile. It just breaks societies.
The thing is, really, it's like going somewhere where you do not feel honored and respected diminishes you every single time. Like a little piece of you just goes away.
And you replaces it with a little black ball of hate.
Yeah, it just goes away. And so it's just like that's when you start to really realize. Until you're void, and then there's no connection, and that's why everyone's been in a place where you've met somebody who's void of that, and then you try any type of human connection that you're trying to have with them, it doesn't resonate. They're just not available anymore. Like some part of them they gave away too much, and that's something that like nobody is above that experience. It's just like nobody's above being a murderer. And like there's just one decision away, and a circumstance. So like, you know, nothing that is, like Maya Angelou said, nothing that is human can be foreign to me, you know, because I'm a human being. So if you can do that, I can do that too. And maybe my circumstances didn't permit me to, do have that same action and choice, but I can't really judge you really heavily for that, because a lot of times why people act the way we act is because of a lot of, like, the trauma, social engineering or social economics, social economics, your environment, like, you know.
Dude, social engineering is a huge part of it. We don't even address each other correctly. We call each other racist.
Well, it's
like,
tough,
like we're distinct races, but we're not.
I remember when I was in school and there was like a foreign student or a new student from another country, they didn't teach you the culture of that kid in your school. That kid was thrown to the fucking wolves.
Yeah.
Right? And he was left to some kids who were like, whose parents had brown friends. That's what it was in the 80s.
For sure.
That you would be like, oh, okay, hey, buddy, come on with us, right? Because you see your parents do it. But most of the time back then, dude, I had a black mom, and I was called N baby, right? And I didn't know what that meant, because I wasn't being called the N word. I was calling the N baby, because they knew my mom was the only black person in the school. They would go to the assemblies. I always remember in the assembly, I did a song, The Heat Is On.
Oh,
these two guys, and it's really funny. I'm going all over the place for a second, but we'll come back. A kid named Ricky Perez de Tegla, who I looked up on Facebook last night. True story. And
his name is legendary.
Yes, Ricky Perez de Tegla, right? His name now going by Richard. I hit him up and he looked at he didn't answer me back. I don't know if I did something wrong. I don't know. Ricky, it's been 30 years.
Come on,
right? But we did a talent show, and I wanted to get him on the podcast to talk about the talent show.
That's crazy.
Right? But I remember he came, and I befriended him, and nobody liked him, man. And for no reason, only they didn't know Filipino culture in the 80s. Filipino people were very new, right? It was a very new thing on Vancouver Island, like hell on earth for anybody of color on Vancouver Island in the 80s. Craziness, right? But that was the problem.
Yeah.
Didn't teach you how to do it in school, right?
I think because the teachers didn't even know themselves.
That's terrible.
I think the thing is that's it. Like the system is good at removing, suppressing, but amplifying. There's a fear of amplifying certain conversations, because it's like, oh, if I amplify this conversation, then that means that I'm undermining myself. Yeah. Because there may be something beneficial in that culture, or that actually exposes the inequities in my own system. Yeah. And so rather than talk about that, I'd rather just act like it doesn't exist. Yeah. That's why there's a level of like suppression. And that's why there's like a certain, like that level of hate. If somebody's really dope, some people don't want to acknowledge that, because they may feel inadequate based upon what that person offers. And rather than connecting and asking questions, being like, how could I integrate that wisdom into my way of being so that I can learn how to do really amazing things, I'm just going to try to eradicate and remove you or deny you and act like it's not even there. And that's what we know when you talk about the awards. Like, there's some people that are just ridiculously talented.
Yeah, I will never get that.
Like, we'll never get that.
Yeah. Well, I think what we don't acknowledge is the education system, the way we have it right now, is the bare minimum. It is the bare minimum.
It's babysitting, buddy.
Just to get people through the day.
To get mom and dad going to work to stimulate the economy.
Yeah, and we're using the wrong words, right? Because education means to learn and grow, and there's no education at all, right?
No.
You look at some of the education systems across the planet, and North America, it's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke in almost every way. Math, English, science, however you want to look at it. Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule in every culture, but North American school system is terrible, and we accept it and literally commit kids to 17 or 13 years mandatory of schooling by people that don't give a fuck.
And also being around, like I said, energy of people that don't know you, maybe potentially. That was my experience growing up. There's points where like we were the only black family that came in. Like lived in a neighborhood, so you're always othered, and like you're the only black kid in school, and so you're just othered. Everyone knows you, but you don't know anybody. Yeah. You know, or everyone has an idea. Everyone has an idea of who you are, and they only interact with you based upon a phenotypical relationship. And so it's really weird. It's like you're famous just for being black. Or you're just like, and it's really uncomfortable because it's just like you don't really have any. It's like I'm what I am, and like, I don't really get that awareness. But I feel that like the education, like I said, the education system definitely. I think that everything is for revision. I just
Hell
think,
yeah.
I think
Dramatic.
I think that like I learned more out of institutions than I did in institutions.
Yeah.
Like way more. I found that asking questions or genuine curiosity or inspiration that you think would be nurtured in certain institutions is marginalized. Yeah. I don't want you asking that question. Mm-hmm. That's not a part of the syllabus. Mm-hmm. That's a 4th year level question. We're in year 2. Don't discuss mm-hmm. that. You're actually being combative in the classroom. Mm-hmm. You're doing too much. But I thought this is supposed to be a place for learning and expansion. But this is actually really not what it is. This is just a consumerized, technocratic type of space that's just figures. Buy this textbook and integrate this information that will be irrelevant by the time you graduate.
Dude, I'll give you one ridiculous example that just never makes sense to me. If you're a science teacher, you should know who Nikola Tesla is. You should know who he is.
And his impact on the history of science.
He fucking sparked everything in modern science, right? Without Nikola Tesla, there'd be none of this shit. Yeah. And outside of the education system, me and my wife are pretty specific about teaching our kids everything that we think they should know on top of what they know, right? So they're pretty well-rounded overall, education-wise. So my daughter was in grade 7, and they were told to do a profile on someone they think is important to history. Mm-hmm. And they were kind of brainstorming ideas. My daughter's like, I want to do Nikola Tesla. Mm-hmm. And the teacher fucking said, no, honey, you're talking about the car company.
Oh, wow.
My daughter's like, no, he's a scientist, Nikola Tesla. And then obviously she went and eventually Googled it. Yeah. And they didn't come back to my daughter and say, hey, you're right, you can do it. Mm-hmm. But on the next day, it just had on the board people's names you could use, and Nikola Tesla's one of them. Okay. I'm like, you're a fucking science teacher.
Yeah. Really? I think, but the thing is though, I think that's where like, the word agency again, like nobody knows more than you.
Facts.
Nobody knows more than you. Like, you know a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I know a lot of stuff, but we know a lot together, but nobody knows more than anybody as an individual. And so like, I can give you the grace and compassion that you don't know. But not knowing, don't shoot me down, because you don't know something that I know. You know what I mean? Like, it should be that's was in the past, that awareness of like, because I didn't come up with it, then I'm going to just strike it off or I'm going to take a personal offense because I should know everything. I'm the teacher. So but I feel like the generation that we're moving into, awareness is like, the youth are going to lead everything. Kids are moving. Kids are leading everything. That's what it is. That's what works for me as an adult. That's what works for me now. As anything that I'm interested in, I just go online and I research it, and I can spend hours just like in like joy, just gobbling up information. And then that's actual practical that I can use, and I feel that through learning that one thing. Let's say I learned about Nikola Tesla, I got into his bio, and then I learned about what happened to him with Thomas Edison, and then it's like, oh wow, he got screwed because of copyright issues, and I'm like, okay, what is copyright issues? And then I go study, next thing you know, I'm just like, there's so many wormholes that you can go through within education, and I think that like, it doesn't happen in the classroom. I think schools are more so for like, it's more so like social dynamics.
That's all it is. It's to teach you how to operate in an office.
Yeah, the training employees.
It's just like how we can work with people, and it's not really even a loving type of space for that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's really just like
one leader, everybody faces this way, and the leader faces this way. And everyone listens to the person facing this way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you train them young.
But it's inexcusable, man. We're in the fucking age of information.
Orwell.
There's no reason for anyone to be ignorant of anything.
No, it's like you can just Google it. Like, Google's your best.
Just Google everything.
Just go online. And the thing is like, you have the agency to research and look up whatever you want.
Teach people how to research.
You don't have to be asking people and be like, oh, I don't know, I've never seen somebody who is biracial. Look it up.
But I've
never seen somebody who's like, there's a whole documentary on people who live different types of lifestyles and ways of being that you can learn from the safety of your home. And then the next time you actually encounter somebody who may be living a certain type of reality that you didn't know, you can actually engage with them with some level of respect. And it's just but it's some level of like investment in your reality. Yeah. Like, and that's the thing, like, I don't think a lot of people, we gotta be invested in the space, because once we are, that's when we'll actually do dope shit. That's when you get the Nikola Teslas and people who like, I want to change the world. I want to create a new or rediscover new energy systems, free energy, or find different ways that we can make impactful, that can build more connections. That's where my mind state is right now.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do things that are impactful, that can support people, the most amount of people.
What is the most impressive invention of all time?
Wow, that's really
impressive. What impresses you over the history of inventions? What impresses you?
Oh wow!
You can say electricity.
I would say that, yeah. Well, I think like when you think of like electricity and those type of things, I feel those things were there. Yeah. I think we just
even current shit, like something that's impressive.
I'd say like what I'm vibing on right now, I'm like, of course, the internet is like the most amazing thing that is ever.
Pretty fucking amazing. It's pretty. I thought TV.
Like,
I would say TV.
I was gonna say TV.
Amazing how they made it. That just does it.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say to you, but the internet is pretty amazing. The internet is like the most amazing. It's like the most connective, the most like there's no limits in the internet.
Unless you live in China.
You know, yeah.
Have you ever been on the dark web?
No, I have not.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
And like everyone else, I heard people talk about it. It's like the bad type side of
kind of fucked up. Like, it's kind of fucked up. I had a friend show me around. It's kind of fucked up.
Really?
Yeah. It's one of those things that unless you're a pro, you're with the guy. It's like, don't worry, man. You feel like it's right here when you're looking at the dark web.
Yeah.
You feel something right here, right? You're like, yeah, oh yeah. Like I'm watching. I'm like, I feel like someone's got like Steven Seagal or something out of my trachea, like my jugular right in his thing. Like, right? Didn't it feel that way?
It feels really weird.
You feel like you're a predator or something.
Well, dude, you can hire people to kill people on the dark web.
Wow.
It'll tell you how much.
You know, somebody really made you feel some type of way. If you're gonna go online and I'm booked. Yeah. I like you're booking a reservation.
Dear
but isn't
Killer Bob.
Wouldn't you kill them yourself though if you hated them that much?
I think so.
It's kind of disassociating the task.
No, but you don't want to ruin your life. You just want to ruin somebody else's.
Yes. And pay for
and you don't want any. You don't want any responsibility for that. Like it wasn't me. I was adjacent to the murder. I just kind of just chose the person and the place. I didn't actually do the thing.
Like OJ, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Glove don't fit. OJ's face. Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Just gonna say something and I fucking forgot.
That's okay. So let's just go into the music, man, because this is a very it's really our first R&B singer that we've had on here. Like singer.
Yeah.
Right? It's our first male vocalist.
Right.
Really.
Right.
Yeah.
And potentially for when we have the high phrases, the awards, in the male R&B category. Fuck, buddy, you're killing it right now.
So literally just talking about award shows cannot be done.
We do not.
What I was gonna say is we were talking about violence, right?
Yeah.
Did you watch the fights on the weekend?
Oh, okay, yeah, we can talk about this.
Did you watch any?
Which ones?
Israel Adesanya and
no.
I thought you were talking about what's his name, Aaron Carter and.
Did that fight happen too?
Oh, it's disgusting.
I'm workaholic.
Disgusting.
What happened?
Did you see any of the clips of that?
I just saw that Aaron Carter got knocked out.
Did he get knocked out?
2 minutes, like he was just really.
Lamar Odom or something?
Lamar's a giant, man. He's 6'8".
The reach, you can't even. How you gonna like?
Yeah.
Like
you're never catching my.
Wow.
Are you a fighter?
I used to be really into. I think like the real heavy hitters were really like the Mayweathers and the Tysons and the those type of things were really really exciting. But now I'm just kind of like it's like I like the energy that it brings. I think it's like it's really electric energy. I think people love a fight. Like there's some level of competition or combat that people just
it's built in us.
It's just electrifying. People like that level of like. I think it's like seeing something happen and it's like and what the outcome is going to be. Like because
this weekend was Nate Diaz fought.
Oh, did he fight?
Yeah.
Did he win or he got knocked out?
Well, he can't really knock Nate Diaz out, right?
What happened?
5-round fight. Oh. For 4 rounds, he got it. For 4 rounds and 4 minutes and 8 seconds, he got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And in the last 52 seconds of the fight, he almost won.
Really?
Yeah. Wobbled him, punished the guy for the next 50 seconds, and then the bell rang and he lost.
Why does he do that?
I think he needs to feel pain before he inflicts pain.
Is he a weird kind of...
weirdo.
Like a Vinny Pazienza, like that Vinny Pazienza movie, how the guy just loved to get punched in the face.
Yeah. Wow. That's kind of the thing. Yeah.
Right? Like you get this rush from it, like...
Glutton for punishment.
Yeah, that's intense.
Well, it's also that. It's also like trauma, right?
Yeah.
You've had some sort of trauma in your life that has caused you to not care about yourself.
Dude, him and his
boxing's like that. Right?
Well, him and his brother had been fighting adults from the time they were like 14, 15 years old, right?
Well, there's that. Like, it's something that it's that's part of our reality. You can become really proficient at toxic behavior, and people will pay you. People will celebrate you for doing the worst things to yourself. And the thing is, that's when it's like when you do actually figure that out, that like that's what was going on. The level of heartbreak is real.
Yeah.
That's some serious
football
heartbreak.
players.
So y'all let me go out here like this, and y'all just watched this happen.
Yeah. Dude, what's happening to football players is terrible, man. The CTE post retirements, man.
Yes, that's
horrible.
That's one of those things. Yeah, like when I look at sports and I think about like, I think every man has like this energy that especially when you're young, you need to like find the right space to cultivate it. And sometimes sports is excellent because it gives you some level of structure and some level. Just like some people go to the military. Yeah. It really helps give them some level of structure that they need because without it, that energy can be very plutonic. It can just like it can be destructive in a good way. But I think like it's very interesting. Like there's a double-edged sword with sports. Within certain sports that could be like your long-term situation, like when you talk about the CTE or just the fact that like every fight that I go into is like a car accident, or every football game is like literally equivalent to a car accident. And so like, that's a lot. Like I'm training myself to hurt myself. And this other person around me, I don't know what his level of trauma is. He may have more trauma than me. It's like trauma wars. Like who like seriously, whoever is more angry will win. Versus the person who isn't. And that's what for me, even though I played football, I played basketball, I played sports, I remember distinctly that got to a point where it was like I was playing like this midget and this amateur, right? That level, and I was like, my coach was like, "Why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? You should stay." But it was just like, I don't know if I could continue to be in this space because I'm not really feeling like that. And like I think the second you're not, it's a dangerous place for you to be because then because somebody's gonna catch you slipping.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, man, it's just like
you just drop your guard and it's all over.
Yeah,
you stop caring, right?
Hey man, Mike Tyson's downfall was that Buster Douglas fight where he got fat, didn't train properly, got knocked the fuck out. He almost won that fight too, man. He almost won that fight.
We'll never see great athletes and shit like that again. Like to be an athlete now.
Tyson Fury?
It's not the same. It's not the same, man. There's a different mentality with all athletes today because of one reason.
Floyd?
No, because of one reason. Because of pressure. The pressure is different for athletes today. Back in the day, 20 years ago, they didn't have the pressure to be important
or be a brand. Yeah.
You just had to be talented, and that carried you. But now there's just so much pressure for kids.
Dude,
that's the most dangerous part.
Every player in the NBA is a brand. Yeah. Every single player in the NBA.
And you can't not be. Jokic was the MVP this season. They elected a tall white guy who usually, if I know guys like Jokic playing with them back in high school, they were the guys that smoked the most weed, ate ice cream, every day.
He still looks like it.
Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. Didn't work out and shit, was just big, walked to school. Right? Like every day. Like, he was that guy, man. That was the MVP of the league.
Did you see him flunk out?
Yeah.
That was not good. Yeah. Are you following the playoffs? Basketball playoffs?
No, I have not. Well, I actually right now I don't have a TV where I stay.
It's good. I don't watch.
I used to be bald head. I used to watch NBA all the time, sports all the time. But like because I'm focused on different things right now. But like you still connected. I always I would love to tune in, but I just haven't had the time to really tune in.
You're not missing anything, man, because the NBA will be back next year.
Yeah,
I missed 10 years of it. I missed the Detroit Pistons. Reigns.
Wait. The bad boy? No, not the bad boy. No. You're talking about Chauncey Billups.
Yeah.
Ben
Wallace, a fan. I didn't see any of him.
Yeah. Huh. That's so you know what? That's a lot of 10 years is a lot of time.
Yeah.
But really significant era in history.
Wow,
shit.
yeah.
I had to relive all that when I came back through like YouTube.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
10 years is a long motherfucking time, man.
Yeah.
10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
But
Live
nonetheless,
with it.
yeah, it's like one of those things where I guess,
Just live with it. It's like
Yeah, totally.
But
It's like you got a master's degree.
Yeah.
You got a
Pretty
master's
much.
or PhD.
And I swear to you, man, the greatest thing that came out of that was reading people. It's what makes me a good healer in my other job.
But do you think punitive measurements are beneficial like this? Or do you think they could have been
Only if
better?
you're a drug addict.
But okay, you're a healer. I think healing is I think that I have certain healing abilities and awareness. I think that when you come from pain, it's like you learn because you nurse and take care of yourself, and the things that work for you offer to other people. So like, what as far I'm not taking over the interview.
I like it. I like the feel of this.
What modality really worked for you, and what happened to what did you do that first gave you that level of release that you were like, oh wow, this is really actually supportive to me.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, so I basically came to grips with all the shitty things I did in my life, and I accepted that that's what I did, and I stopped denying and fighting it, and I just accepted that that's who I am, and I realized that if you're going to if you're going to continue to evolve, which is what you really want to do as a human being, everyone's like, they always say you just got to enjoy your life. And I'm like, you know what happens when people enjoy their life? They fucking die early.
They don't do shit.
They don't do anything.
Yeah.
And all you leave behind is money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're lucky, right? And I'm kind of like, you know what? Dude, you got to really figure out who you are and accept all the bad shit that you've done and that you've had done to you. And accept that as part of your, who you are, and just go out. And the funny thing is, what makes me good at what I do is because everybody does the same thing when they feel the same amount, when they feel the same trauma. When people feel shame, they do certain things. There's certain body and certain things that they have. When people feel guilt, they say and do certain things. When people feel anger, when people feel regret, when people feel all these feelings, they all do the same thing. And you notice that when you sit in a jail of thousands of men.
Yeah, totally. I think I think it's amazing how
people watch.
Yeah, people watching is a powerful thing.
In prison, man.
It's powerful, and especially all of the genius that is in the prisons.
Yeah.
A lot of the times people that are in there just are intensely brilliant, but they just couldn't find a way to fit themselves in society.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're limited so much that you end up going crazy because of the limits that are given to you.
If you could create a fucking empire off of an illicit drug trade and make millions of dollars a year, you can run a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah,
Easy.
Yeah.
Because you are literally creating a supply chain. I know it sounds fucked up. I'm not making light of it. But I'm just saying, what the byproduct of what their actions are millions of dollars.
Totally.
Nothing different from what an oil company does.
To coordinate all the drops.
Hell yeah. And not get caught.
Yeah, all of that. That's a lot of, with that extra pressure on you. Imagine if you could do something without that extra pressure on you.
Yeah.
What would you, and that's kind of like, it's all just a lack of awareness of options of what you could do and lack of exposure. And I think those are the things that are really, really important. That's part, again, like the organization that we have, Afro Connect. Check it out, AfroConnect.com. It's about just giving people access to opportunities or spaces and things that they didn't have, and creating opportunities for mentorship. So where you can be in a room and you can see something that can inspire you to have a greater conversation, because a lot of the times people don't go into things because they don't want to, just because they didn't know it existed or didn't have that connection.
People take for granted how big of a deal mentors are, man.
Oh, mentors are.
I grew up in a neighborhood where everybody was middle class, but all the teenagers wanted to be gangsters. They had no reason to be gangsters.
Yeah.
Their parents already bought them a car. The school was already paid for. There was no struggle. There was no reason to hustle. They just wanted to because they're fucking, malicious kids and eventually started doing malicious things to people. And we had one community center in the neighborhood and one really dope mentor that was there. And I'm telling you, man, this guy single-handedly at least kept a few hundred kids from becoming drug dealers every year, man.
Wow.
It was phenomenal. everybody went to go there after school, play ball, play football, play basketball, play whatever. And he was just a great guy that got along with everybody. It's crucial to have those people in the
It's
neighborhood.
essential, and I think that honoring those spaces is a huge thing too.
Yeah, man.
Because I think everyone at this particular point can be a great mentor. Like everyone has something that they do really well that they can offer, and I think that's it's really commendable. It's the most easy thing that you can possibly do. It's like you don't have to be anything else. It's just like you just kind of showing up and being yourself and offering your wisdom in a way that that meets the person that you're meeting where they're at.
In your healing journey that you're talking about, is it substance influenced at all?
You mean, do I give them?
Are there any substances involved from your side? Yeah, that you use or that you?
Are you asking me trade secrets?
That's a plant-based medicine.
Am I dosing people?
No,
I'm dosing people. Yeah, I'm dosing people. Yeah, I do. You all psilocybin therapy, altered state therapy, which is not something people should do on their own.
It's groundbreaking therapy.
And if you are listening to this, always consult your physician before you use anything with any of your medication. If you think you're gonna get off your meds, always talk to your doctor.
Here's what you gotta understand, man. Like
I say that because
you're practically applying this, but now medical science is promoting this as well. They're doing studies with psilocybin.
Oh, they are.
And
Like there's actually dispensaries that you can go and you can get what you want really readily available. If you have like a prescription bottle, you can go and you can get what you need to get. I think it's really just when you look about the same connect with like the indigenous cultures, like people have been using psilocybin mushrooms, plant-based.
Centuries.
Everything is plant-based. All your drugs, surprise, surprise, come from plants. I know that you think that they don't. They do. They all start within nature. I just think that there's a huge disconnect within that. I think that if the thing that's helping you right now is this pill and you got it from a pharmacist, why wouldn't you think the actual place wouldn't help you? I'm pretty sure if you just kind of hung out there, you probably would feel better.
People are scared to face the root issue. It's all it is. Like it's all in your head. It's all in your head. That's it. You're taking a medication that the clinic stranger doctor, because he has a doctor on his thing, he gave that to you so you trust him. You're taking that because you're scared to face the truth. That's it. And all I do is I make people face the truth.
Whatever that truth is.
How do you make somebody face the truth? Oof. How do you can't handle the truth? Some people
can't.
Some people can't. That's the thing. Like, but the thing is like.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning, I wake up early. And tomorrow morning I'm going to drive to a town far away from here. It's going to take me about an hour plus. And I'm going to see a family on a farm who have 2 kids, great kids. One is a 18-year-old girl who's been suffering from trauma for the past 5 years.
Physical, emotional.
And when she was 13 years old, she was at her high school, or middle school, whatever it was, and one of the older students was a foreign exchange student from another country, came here. And he was a little older because the school systems were off, so they were a little older than this girls. And she really had a crush on him, really thought he was good looking. And he said, hey, come into the bathroom at the high school. And she thought she was going in there to get a kiss. Now, this girl was beautiful. She was a gymnast from an early age, pushing for Olympics, was perfectionist, OCD type, fucking gymnast mentality. And she went into the bathroom, and inside were 2 foreign exchange students who violently raped her.
Wow.
In between the class. And she said something to her family, the family told the school. The school took the foreign students and shipped them home. Didn't charge them.
Deported?
Shipped them home.
Home, like to their own country.
To their own country. Which
I think that's part of the law.
Which was in the Orient, a country in the Orient.
Yeah.
But these kids came back 6 months later to the country after their ban was over. And the family's really traumatized by it. This girl has been dealing with this trauma for 5 years. She's been on fucking medication that the doctors gave her to help her sleep and, you know, to maybe ease up on the bulimia and the purging that she's been doing from the trauma, right? And so they give her these meds, and the first treatment I did with her, she did like 6 grams or 5 grams, and it didn't even work. But she was on such heavy meds.
What the fuck, dude? 5 grams is like a mega dose.
18-year-old, brave as hell. She's like, I'm gonna go off my meds. So she weaned herself off in the past 10 days with her. She's done nothing.
It's crazy.
Last couple of days barely sleeping, but microdosing. And the microdosing's really helped her be balanced in the day so she's not all foggy. But tomorrow she does 5 grams of some potent shit.
So that's the death. That's isn't that the hero's journey? 5 grams.
The ego death.
The ego, yeah.
I do it a certain couple different ways.
Are you using golden teachers, or are you using? Is there other particulars?
Golden teachers is usually what I use, but this time I'm using some really potent penis envy.
Oh, penis envy. Okay.
Yeah. So.
And do you grow it yourself, or do you?
No, I have a guy that grows it. A couple of little things happen.
Yeah, I'm here with you. I think personally, plant-based medicine can do like 5 years of therapy in over one night. Because people know how mycelium works. Mushroom is part of the mycelium family, and mycelium is how trees communicate. Like underneath trees, it's basically like the internet. It connects everything.
Everything's
connected. So that's the same thing that it does with the trauma and within yourself. In theory,
look
at that on cue.
Wow.
In theory, it basically connects you internally. The same parts of yourself that weren't connected become connected. It's things that you were trying to deal with before that you didn't know the root cause to, become integrated. There's like an immersion, and for me, my personal experience with said things has been very much in that way, and I think that it definitely is a very supportive tool. And like you said, I think people should use it under strict supervision and support by a physician.
And dude, this girl,
be guided.
Her problem is like what the doctors refuse to look at.
Yeah.
And I figured her out. Her problem is perfection. She's striving to be perfect. And this comes from her being young athlete, focused, training every single day, 6 hours a day.
So being traumatized is killing her then.
Yeah, she's traumatized from her gym. She needs to drop that persona. She's bone thin, you know what I mean? Like she's still hanging on to that gymnast, but she's 18. You're done. It's over. You need to let go. Mushrooms are going to show her. If the mushrooms get through to her tomorrow, they're going to show her you need to let go. But what I do, which is different, is I like to really bring up the trauma, and I like for people to face it. I think that we coddle people too much. I think that if you can, there's certain things you do with people when they're in that state that can really trigger them the good way into conscious thinking about their issues, right? And actually consciously saying, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Instead of just saying.
Do you believe in entities or the awareness of things being on people's
chill come through here.
people's spirits? Some people call them demons, some people call them other things. I'm very aware of energy in that particular space, and I know my personal awareness with that. And
so do you call it jinn?
Well, there's that. There's jinn. There's archons. There's other sorts of things. But what I realize is, and that's part of the reason why that intention thing is a thing, because there's a thing called biospheres. It's basically, you ever walk into a space and you just feel whatever energy is in that space.
Yes.
And there's naturally spaces that you're attracted to. If you're a positive person, you're naturally going to be attracted to a positive space that has the energy. But there are other spaces that are the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And so let's say a trauma happened in that space, but that space wasn't cleared, then that space has the residue of that situation. And it almost calls people into that space to rehab similar issues or similar experiences that space.
What's clearing? What would you consider clearing?
I've experienced clearing that would be like an intentional intentional meeting with the intention to support the space in the best way that will honor it, to realign it back to its function.
Oh, wow.
And I think a lot of the times that's what people just simply need. I was funny about
Interesting, man.
for me as a child, I was actually it's a crazy story. Part of the Islam story.
Yeah.
When you talk about jinns, in some cultures, people believe that people have mental health illnesses, that they're possessed by demons or possessed by spirits.
Yeah.
So they would go to healers in ways to get them to clear off that awareness. And somebody that I knew was struggling or was believed to struggle with an entity either known as a jinn or something like that. And one of these, the person that was instructed to come in and deal with the problem, the sheikh, he ended up recruiting me and my brother, and I was literally like 11 or 10.
No.
Yeah, and I literally went to people's houses and I would clear the space. We would do rituals.
Crazy.
So
has something in you or something?
Wait,
I don't
let people know what a sheikh is.
A sheikh is
familiar.
they're like a spiritual teacher. They're not like an imam would be more so like a preacher, right? But a sheikh is more so like a sheikh is also similar to imam, but they do spiritual work and clearing. So someone could say like a fetish priest in other spaces. But yeah, I got brought into it. And then as I was going to people's houses and clearing houses, and one of the people's houses that I went to was really a very telling story I will share. I often do share, and I really feel like it was one of the formative awarenesses in my experience. He was a psychologist, right? And he was having issues in his family home. And what was actually going on is because a lot of the people that he was seeing weren't actually struggling with mental things. It was like energetic things. It's like when you're low vibe, you attract things to you. Everyone knows that. That's what you guys say. It's a thing. Everyone's talking about you killing my vibe, right? So if somebody's low vibe, they'll only attract more low vibrational things. Somebody's high vibe, they'll attract high things. So you as a health practitioner or somebody who's dealing and healing and supporting, because you're dealing with a lot of people who have things on them, you're going into a lot of low spaces. And so he would go there and connect and help, but those things he had to lower his vibe to go to those spaces. So some of those things would therefore connect with him and follow him home. And so he didn't have an awareness, which is as a healer, which is very important. You need to have is you need to clear your energy before you come to your space. You have to close the conversation. And a lot of people don't know about closing the conversation. A lot of people just do the thing and they go, and then that energy comes in and starts to disrupt your life. You know what I mean? And that's why the point of intention is like, I'm going to close this conversation and I'm going to leave whatever happened here. And when I walk out that door, it's done. And it's important that we have that. It's just like if you're working multiple jobs, one job you just had a fight with a coworker, you can't bring that to the next job. You got to be like that shit. I'm like, I can't take that energy. Some could say that's a demon or whatever, that vibrational frequency into the other space. I gotta check that here, compost it, and move here, because if I don't, I'm gonna be dragging stuff with me everywhere I go. And then it becomes a thing. And then I'm just like, shit, I'm just always in a funk. I can't get out of it. Because you never addressed it and stopped it. So what we ended up doing was going to his house and like doing ritual prayers, chanting, and like just clearing out the space. And that was really such a poignant thing that happened to me, because some things in life, like, I didn't ask for that situation. Like, it's just like, here you win it. Like, but it's also cultural and relevant. And that's why, like, when I talk about my name, cultural spiritual name, Uni, Uni is actually my cultural name that was given to me when I was in Uganda, when I went back there in 2018.
No, is that the motherland for you, Uganda?
Yes. And it was basically like a name that was given to me by my ancestors to choose. And it means like a shaman or healer in that space, because there's always been within me like that healing, sensitive energy. Like, hence why those type of situations or opportunities would just be in it, because you inherently know that's inherently natural to do, and even that person saw within you, because you don't get offered something for nothing. They're not gonna randomly pick over you, come because they know it's like there's some connection there. So having the experience of that my entire life and then going back home to Africa and realize that that's actually
amazing.
It's a deeper connection. Like that's spiritually.
Did you grow up going to a mosque and stuff?
I grew up going to the mosque.
Okay.
I was praying 5 times a day.
It was crazy because
all the time.
for us, we're Fijian, Indian, Muslim, I guess you would call it, and Fijians take the Quran really literally, right? And it's so crazy because like the Arab Muslims look down at Fijian Muslims because like they're darker skin, a little bit different, and the Arabs are light skin and all that stuff. So we never got the sheikhs.
Oh, okay.
They never visited the mosques and stuff where the huge Fijian community here, right? And once we had a sheikh come through and they were the big hats and stuff like that, right? Like, and the things that they show of themselves, it's kind of like supernatural. Yeah. And Fijian Muslims never see this kind of shit. So I remember when we had one come to our house and lead like a milad and do like a full prayer and stuff. Yeah. And I remember my parents, uncles, aunts watching this person like he was possessed because they had never seen anything like it before. So for you, seeing a sheikh was like a normal thing?
It was a normal thing. Culturally, it was like spiritual energy, like operating. People of African descent, everything's spiritual.
Facts.
Everything is spiritual. Nothing is just nothing. They speak. That's just what you move. Everything. You don't light candles to light candles. You light candles to clear the space. You know. You burn an incense. You naturally, your way of being is like an awareness of space, an awareness of clearing, an awareness of like energy. And I think that's something that just definitely is always been in me, and it's a part of me. And so now when I'm like, that's why when I do like, as an artist, create spaces and also in gatherings and events and things like that, I'm always mindful and conscious of trying to create the right, best energy, and creating a conduit of a space that's loving, that could bring that support energy in. And it's all about intention, and you could do that. And sometimes people are just like, I just want everyone here. I don't want everyone here. I'm just coming over here with whatever going on. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like you don't need to, because like we're trying to create something intentionally. And we're trying to create something that matters and it's gonna have some level of impact. Yeah. So we don't need to have everyone there. And if it's not
very sensitive to energy.
I know if you're a healer, you are. And
I see it off of you when you look at people.
Too many people in the room, all of a sudden I'm like,
and I see the way you look at people. Yeah. Oh,
are you Scorpio?
No, I'm Cancer.
I'm Scorpio.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Also, the water. Yeah.
Because it's weird because we disagree on pretty much everything.
Yeah, almost everything.
Yeah, but we get along perfectly.
Yeah.
It's very
different. But it's different because you're like it'd be like it's funny. It's like cold and warm water. You know what I mean? It's just it's like ice and cold. So it's like ice and warm. So it's like that's the dynamic. But like both the same, both very sensitive. Yeah. Both intuitive, like you feel and you know what's going on before it even is going on. Nice. Like you have a great sense of like just knowing if somebody's about something, if they're not about something. You can't even tell them why, but you just know. It's not even. It's like you didn't look for it. Like what is it? What's a Drake line? I wasn't looking for the truth. It just came to me. And Drake's a Scorpio, and that's literally what it is. I wasn't looking for your shit. It just came to me.
Obvious, yeah.
That's just it. Just like.
Crazy.
I know before I even spoke to you, and cancers are very great mimickers, and the same thing, pull energy. All water is that. Water remembers. Water doesn't forget nothing. So like that's the thing.
Right there.
Water remembers. So that's why like when I was saying earlier, like wisdom is inherent. Yeah. It's our body's a majority water. Like we are prime information.
Where do you think that's coming from? Where do you think that's coming from, that information? Do you think it's ancestral?
I think it's all ancestral. I think that like it's all ancestral. I think everything is really ancestral. Like we're on assignment from like time, We've been given an assignment to do, and like sometimes we forget what it is, and like I said, that's where life is like, okay, no, you're a healer. And I gotta put you and lock you up for 10 years and throw you into the energy school that you need to be in so that you can figure it out, because that's the place where you need to figure it out, because like I said, like how else was it going to take you away from what you need to be taken away from? If that didn't happen, you wouldn't.
I'd be dead, or probably, or
you wouldn't.
Tattoos or something, you know what I mean? Like it'd be weird if I hadn't gone.
In a dark space.
Yeah, and sitting in that thing though, you really learn about people. Like you see all sorts of apathy, but you see all sort of like real like stories of people who have ended their life early, like guys who are 20 years old who are doing life, and
damn,
that's a reality, because then when you watch these people secretly, you start to see body language of how they feel about what they do, and their behavior dictates how they feel about what they've done, whether they feel good about it or not. Like some people go there and ball it up, and it's just like you feel no shame or guilt or anything about it, right? You know, like, and you see the actions, and that's where the people watching comes in, man, because you're like, wow, you start to see the worst of people in jail, but then you also, if you spend enough time, you see people grow as well. So you see the cycle of growth, dude, which is fucking really in itself really crazy. I was the chaplain clerk, so I worked with all of the church groups.
Yeah.
Right. So all of the religions. Yeah. That's the funny part. I went to all the Catholic things in the end. Shout out to Sister O'Donnell, you're dead. So.
You can still shout her out. It's
it's Catholics. I don't shout out much to Catholics. Yeah, sorry.
You got some darkness in that world right now.
I was spiritually fucking molested by the Catholics all of my life, right? And I know exactly what the truth is. Force you drink the blood, eat the body. Drink the blood, eat the body. Come on. We can't even get into that.
But that's even that whole entire situation when you're talking about, like, when people talk about that fetish thing.
Yes.
That's when people, like cut a lion's paw and you rock a lion's paw and you think you got that power. So it's like, if I eat Jesus' flesh, then I'm gonna be God. If I drink his blood. And so that's one of those things that, like, people be.
That's kind of sick.
Yeah, it is, but it's like, it's so crazy that if you really break it down, it's like, I'm so void of anything godly that the only way that I have it in me is if I kill it and have it internally.
Damn.
That's some low vibrational, not judging. It's just it's like you can't. It's like you have to embody. It's you.
Yeah.
You're that. You can't. That's why things like people. It's the same thing people do in relationships, man. It's like you'll be like, oh, these guys are super dope, so I'm gonna try and take what they got. But like, even if I did the exact same thing, it wouldn't be y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like, so it's like, so that's what it's like, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. There could be a billion podcasts, a billion talk shows, and that's why there's no hate. There's all love, you know? Like, if you resonate and you want to do it, like, there's a billion artists, everyone's talking about love. Everyone's talking about the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you're going to be mad at everybody? No. Like, it's about understanding that, like, it's like, it's you. And like, and when you realize that it is you, then it's like a total different, then you honor it. You know, and you're not trying to just give it away.
Hard for us to do that.
You know, you're not just trying to give it away. Because, but the thing is, like, because we don't spend a lot of time valuing ourselves. We don't spend a lot of times, like, you know, I did certain exercises, and I would say anybody out here, if they would like to participate, like for personal wellness and mental health, because especially mental health right now is a huge thing. I think that it's a zenith. Like, people got to a point where it's just like, we really need to check in a real way.
It's sky high right now.
Yeah, in a real way. So, like, just for me, one of the things that I still do and I constantly try to do was, like, affirm myself, be the first person to affirm myself, and to do it in a way that was genuine and connecting with myself, that honored myself, so that I would not be wanting other people to do it.
Right.
You know, and they would come up with, like, it's like mirror work, you know, and this is like something that a lot of people do, whether it be like Louise Hay or from Hay House, like the book, I think, How to Heal Yourself. And but you look in the mirror and you just, like, connect with yourself, genuinely, first thing in the morning, whenever, and you just smile and you say, I love you.
It's huge.
And you commit to doing that. It was like an everyday thing, and I committed to doing. Anytime I see my reflection, I'm gonna check in really.
Damn.
With myself, and that should just change. That should change my situation, because, like, you be at a party or you out in the world, and you just turn and you look at the mirror, and it's like, I'm here with you, dog. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I would tune in with me. And
you talking to? I'm just
you know what I mean. I just be like, I'm with me. So, like, in case I forget what the hell's going on, like, this same person that's looking at you in the mirror when you're by yourself is still with you.
Wow, that's pretty dope.
You know, and so, like, learning to walk with that. And then that thing, and then you start to honor it.
Is it the physical? You think?
It's like a deeper type of thing. I think there is obviously responsibility to our bodies. Like I think our bodies are gifts, and like and the whole entire living is almost like learning how to take care of your body and how to for you.
That's what
you know,
it
and
is.
how to support your body for you because everyone's body is
the
different.
brain being part of the body.
You know, and like trying to support it. Like I think that people say like the mind, body, soul connect. It's just like these guys have to be in harmony.
5%.
You know? Yeah,
Arm, leg, arm, head.
Yeah. Allah, yeah.
Yes.
But it's like the awareness of just like thinking that like, like there's a level of harmony. Like this is a physical thing and it has a life of its own. And I have to take care of it. And because I've been taking care of it lately, there's a lot of work to take care of your body. It ain't easy. You gotta, if you care for yourself, you gotta put lotion on it. You gotta brush your teeth. You gotta wash your hair. You gotta be like, make sure you smell good. You gotta eat right. You gotta tighten it. You gotta tone it. You gotta massage. It's like, shit, I got a lot of, I'm just trying to take care of this. Like, it's like, let alone, I'm just trying to figure out what this is, let alone trying to figure out where y'all coming from, like what your things are. Like I don't even know. So it's like, but it's my responsibility because it's something I've been given, and I have to be accountable for it. And I think a lot of the times too, like that could be a doorway into like everything. Is really connecting in that space. And I think that sometimes people don't want to take their responsibility. It's like, fuck it.
Well, we've had this conversation a couple times because, the whole spirit body idea, right? So you like to work out, lift, throw stuff around. Is it just your outside that's feeling that? Or you feel like your spirit's telling you to push yourself?
I have an obligation to myself, and I said that I would never ever get fat and obese. So I live my entire life since 40 sticking to that mantra.
That's good.
And the only reason why I do is I don't want to be a burden on my system. I don't want to. I haven't needed to go to doctors, and I haven't needed to use taxpayer money on my fucking health, right? And I think it's important that if you're able to do that, like we're blessed to be here at our ages, feeling relatively fucking good. You know what I mean? All of us, we're blessed, man. This is a blessing.
Totally.
So many people that aren't. Right, and it's fucking tragic.
The society,
you are a mess.
Jeez.
So it's your responsibility to take care of yourself, and it's just a couple things, man. Just don't get obese, don't get diabetes, don't get all these things that you can prevent. Don't get them.
And partly with that'd be like sometimes too like understanding food insecurities. Right. Some people don't have access to the proper foods that they need.
Not at all.
And that's a thing that we plugging Fair Farms or like other gardens in the city, community gardens, or once again connecting with nature, learning what you can grow and what actually works for you.
Important.
It's so important because it's like
kids farm.
We gotta find a way to get these. We gotta find a way to get the local produce into big chain stores. That's where the change is because. The problem is people aren't going to change their shopping habits.
Okay,
they're not going to make a detour
that's true.
from superstore to the local grower to get their produce. So they got to find a way to get the produce into these mainstream outlets where people can buy.
And the way that you can't grow, you almost couldn't grow that much.
The quantity would be limited.
The quantity would be limited, but that's also a different type of. How that changes everything. That means you're eating different and you're moving different, and like it's a whole different conscious type of a way of being. And I think sometimes like. When you think about all these things, it's like, wow, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, because how do you cater to so many people? Like, we're not meant to live in cities with millions of people. The supply chain accommodates us because we have this fucked up complex system, but the natural ecosystem is not meant to support this kind of society.
That's why they invented junk food.
For real. Just shove your face.
Well, no, because we needed to stop people eating produce. We needed to stop people eating apples and grapes. There was a huge shortage in the 80s of like apples and oranges.
Because it was still kind of semi-natural agriculture.
And they knew, and they're just like, okay, now we have to take up more land, and we can't grow we can't grow if we don't have the land, then we have to plant more. So why don't we just push people to process food that'll take a major chunk of the demographic and stop the consumption of apples and oranges? Well, it's true, dude. And then, because think about it. Imagine if everybody on Earth ate apples and oranges and vegetables.
It would look great.
We look great, dude. There'd be such a shortage.
But I think that too. Like I think food is information, you know, and I think that there would be. I think that if we did some things differently, it would change the way you would act.
100%.
You know, so it's be like you may not be having that many kids. You may not be, you know, you'd be more mindful about your choices because you're actually dealing with reality.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm being like, yeah, like what I'm eating may not be food. It's just, it's something that is food-like. You know? But it's,
and our body will accommodate
that's the thing that's so wild. You know what I mean? Like, that's blowing my mind right now. Even though I know about this stuff, but it's just like, whoa, like, you're just eating fat, all this stuff, and it's nothing has any nutrients density. And that's the thing, that's where a lot of people who are obese, but they're still malnourished. Yeah, because the food that they're eating has no nutrient density, nothing. So your body just stores it. Yeah. And so and it's like, and that's the thing that's so wild, you know, and that's why it gets to the question that what is actually sustenance and what do I actually need?
I had this one client about a year ago, and she's like, I need to lose 50 pounds. And I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. I'm gonna sit with you for a couple of weeks. I'm gonna just come and visit you on the spur of the moment, see what your diet, what you're doing, you know, that kind of thing, right? Go to her house, go to her kitchen. This is day one. Go to her kitchen. Took every shitty food out of her kitchen and dumped it on her kitchen floor. I did one of those like you'd see on TV, right? But do it live.
This is your life.
This is healing. This is healing. Dump it all, right? Dump this shit in the sink and show her this is the shit food in your house. This is the healthy food in your house. It didn't take fucking rocket science to do all this. And all she was worried about was it's hundreds of dollars worth of food.
Of course.
Right? That's all she was worried about. I'm like, but you're missing the fucking point. This is hundreds of dollars of, you know, health bills in the future and fucking problems that you're worried about. This is your root of your issue, right? And dude, like literally she would sneak food, right? We'd clear the whole house out. And like get fresh food and like healthy shit, right? And she'd fucking sneak food. And the whole reason for it all was that it's just easier.
And we're weak.
Yeah, totally.
Dude, we're weak.
It's just because it was placed right in front of you, and it was just there. And
how do you beat that?
And you can't. Like, and that's the thing. Like, it's like because you know taking responsibility means you got to work.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
You know, that's a lot of the times, like, I gotta get up and I gotta put this together and I gotta do that. And sometimes that's really hard for people to, you know, wrap their head around when you're so busy doing other things and building other people's dreams. You know, you don't have any time to take care of yourself. And so it's like, just grab another human.
Soul sucking.
Dude, the best way you can make any changes is sensory deprivation first thing in the morning. This is my own special technique, and what you do is you deprive yourself of all your senses as you wake up. So you think about all the things that you do that don't allow your brain or your senses to become naturally in tune with the world. We look at our phone. Let's go get a coffee. We do these things that, you know, we eat breakfast, right? We exercise. You know, first thing in the morning, dude, you should be silent and live in silence for as long as you possibly can. Don't drink anything. Don't eat anything. Just be. And think about it. Just be. Spend an hour being.
I'm here with you on that. Like, I feel getting into your body. Me and a friend of mine, like, we call it like 10 a.m. in Toronto, because she's from Toronto. But like, it's like a position where like, when you're still coming together, you know, like from wherever you're at, you're like bringing yourself together to set yourself up so you can have your day. And like, that's a luxury and a gift to have. Some people don't have that time to pull themselves together. They're rushing out, dipping, going that. And so it's like, of course you're going to make a mistake because you haven't even taken the time to actually like, and of course you're going to be stuck doing the same things. You never took the time to, because if you actually, that's what COVID was, like that moment where there's like literally you're just sitting and there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. You just, and all those pieces that you've abandoned from years slowly started to come back into the picture.
It's crazy.
And like, and reintegrate in, and you'd be like, oh wow, I used to like drawing.
Yeah.
I used to like painting.
Yeah.
I used to like going for walks.
Yeah.
You know, like all these things that you just thought that you let go because
Just too busy.
yeah, too busy, or like that's some old shit, man. I don't do that anymore. No, you just literally got so in the run of the mill that you forgot about.
And there's only so much Netflix you can watch.
Yeah.
So I think this was a really transformative time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
This whole shutdown, and it just goes to show how easily our system can be broken.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
The system is so fragile. It's literally on, one horrible disaster away from not existing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But
Like
it's
an
so
earthquake or
yeah.
something.
Yeah. But it's so crazy. I'm very fortunate to be here, and I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to, in spite of everything that's going on. You know, it's like a real gift to be able to realize that like your life
Oh yeah.
and like what you can do in your life and what impact you can make, like with one you're here. Like it's like that's the question. I
And
feel like I hope that
motivated,
like
being creative, because the creative part takes inspiration.
it does.
So what keeps you inspired right now?
I think the fact of like life keeps me inspired.
These
That's
things
the most-
around you.
Yeah, I think like building a relationship with real things, having the opportunity to have real experiences. You know, because there's certain ideas that I had in my mind about certain things that kept me away from real things.
Right.
You know, I was chasing some fantasies about certain things and letting those go and actually realizing that what is actually here, and then experiencing the magic of intending something and then watching it manifest, you know, and seeing it actually be a real thing. And that thing that you're created is aligned with you, you know, and that thing that you're creating has an impact in other people's lives and supports other people. That's a beautiful thing. Then it's like, okay, damn, what else can I create? What else can I do? What else can how else can I show up? How else can I? And then realize that, I'm here and I have the ability to like create whatever I want.
Yeah.
So
So
I manifest whatever I want.
When you get into your space, are you deliberately sit and write, or you just catch a moment? You're like, okay, something's here. I gotta put pen. in paper.
I'm like I need to be writing more, but I'm more of like it's just expressive. Like
Okay.
like I'll just like
So you get melodies in your head.
yeah, I hear things before they're out
Right.
there, or like I just connect in that
It's an innate
thing.
thing.
Innate
right?
thing. Like or but I've done it so much to the point where I'll be like, okay, look, I need to write something.
So you can put the pen to paper and sit and put something together.
Yeah, I can. But like even yesterday, I was writing a song for this project. I was working with a producer, and he sent me the track, and he, and just like write something to it. And I've written a lot of things where like I just take a word and I'd be like, okay, let's write about cherries. If that's what it's called, then we'll just kind of, and then you allow your creative juices to find a way and like integrate that, and then it's like, oh wow, here's a song about cherries. But then it's like, okay, you can do that, but now the point is like impactful. Like how can we make things that are impactful and things that actually matter, and what does matter to people, what matters to me. And I think a lot of times that's the deeper work that is required, because you accept to ask yourself those questions, It's not just a surface thing. It's like you're not just telling somebody else's story. It's like you're trying to say what your story is. So that's a point where I'm at right now, of learning that space and I think, but it takes confidence to get to a point where you can share your story and be like, that's just a story. That's what happened to me. That's what it is. I want to honor that experience.
That's cool, man.
Well, everyone's method so different.
Yeah.
You talk to 10 creatives, and everyone's method is so different, so unique, right? I've had some people just tell me that they just sit there and then they literally like see the idea go past them and just grab it and start writing. It's metaphysical, man. It's like
It is metaphysical. It really is, like, because how would you say, like, I heard this? Like sometimes even to like, it's different when you're creating a song from nothing or you're creating something from other people's source information. Like, if there's like, it's like somebody already made a track, then there's like, then you're like, okay, there's a world already built, And then I just had to find myself in that world, like find where I would be. And there's other realities where it's just like where, no, you're working on you're pulling in the water.
Yeah.
You're pulling in the air, you're pulling in the earth, you're pulling in the fire.
Yeah.
You're bringing those elements together. You're doing that alchemical type of thing. And that's a powerful thing to to do because it's applicable. It's like, I feel like how you create, you can take that and apply it to any aspect of your life. Like even within yourself. Like the real creation, to really create, you got to know what are the elements.
Right.
You know, you got to know what are the elements of creation.
Yeah.
And like, are you even connected? How do they work? How does water work? How does air work? How does fire work? How does the earth move? Like, you know, and they'll give you different, and those same applies to like a song or if you're building something. You need something that's solid. You need something that's a grounding energy, you know? And you need, okay, but I need to have some level of dynamics. I need an air, you know what I mean? And then I need some level, I want some movement, we have some water.
So it's some science to you.
I think it's getting that way because like, I'm really into just like deeper understanding. It's like one of those things where you just be doing stuff to do it.
Yeah,
and then,
right.
And then it's like getting to the point where it's like, no, there's actually there's a way to improve in this space. And it's a process. It's just like you becoming a more intuitive, more sensitive, aware human being.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time and energy to do that. And like, sometimes you want to be that person, but you're just not in the space where you can actually be that person or have that conversation.
And I'm so intuitive that I know he's like, okay, man, my life is calling me. I can feel it on him. Right? He's reading. He's just like, I got shit I gotta do. It's getting late. I've been up early.
Yeah.
I could see it on you. So, am I right?
Well,
yeah, you can admit it. This is the truth. I tell you the truth. I could see it. So I'll tell you what. Why don't you ask him your question?
Well, when is music coming from you?
Really, really soon. I've been recording like for a long time. Like I'm kind of like a perfectionist in that sense. But like I said, within everything happening within the world right now, I've just been realizing that I need to just allow myself to do what I do and allow myself to share. So this summer in July, hopefully I'm trying to deliver some more music. I don't know if it's going to be a bigger project, smaller project. I've recorded like over 22 songs that I have.
How do you like drop your music? Do you do it on
that's one of the things like that has been part of the reason of resistance to putting out music, because music releases can be so transient and people just kind of release and drop things and then it's like it just goes into ether. Yeah, but this summer we were filming. I'm part of myself and my people, part of my organization, Afro Connect. We filmed a documentary over the last 2 months.
Oh, wicked.
And it's coming out in the summertime.
Nice.
So I'm probably just gonna support the visual, everything with just more music and more content. Because it's partly about the music and partly about community building, partly about like creating intentional spaces. So
it's a movement.
Yes, it's a movement. So this is kind of like an understanding that like that's the thing that we talked about, like how can you make things more impactful? And sometimes like it requires like a bigger conversation. Like sometimes there's no rush in this process. Like when you need to release the right time to do it, it's gonna happen. But obviously as an artist, when you just want to share, but I'm learning, I'm learning that like it's bigger than me, and and also realizing that like it's funny, you have 22 songs, but like some songs you're talking about some stuff that you'd be like, man, what was I even saying? Like, why was I even on that? I just wanted to make music, bro. That's music, man.
It's gonna happen. It's fine to happen.
But it's just like, but then as you start to become more aware of like the tool and the power of people that, you have an impactful sound or what you movements, and then it's just like, well, it's bigger than me, and I had a dream actually about that. It was like it was really almost a prophetic dream.
Oh shit.
But I was like, I remember I went to bed, I was like, damn, I'm gonna release stuff, and like it's just like this, or is music even for me to do anymore? Like what is it like? What's going on?
Good question.
And then I had a dream, and then I was like in this garden party, and it was like the most. Like, like you say the Oscars or the Grammys, some like really like Jay-Z, Beyonce's anniversary. anniversary or something like that. And then I'm at this party, and then I see this couple, right? This woman in a beautiful red dress, and this man just fighting, right? And they're just like going at it. And then I'm just like, I turn to somebody beside me, and just like, yo, like what's going on with this? And he's like, oh, that's the entertainment.
Okay.
He's like, that's the entertainment, like the red and the blue, like the constant fighting, right? And I'm just like, well, okay. And then we go to another, to see, dream goes on, we go to another space, and then all of a sudden, that couple comes back in again.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful party, all this stuff, and they're fighting again, right? And all this stuff. So I'm just like, what is this? And then, can they go? And then it's like, the guy, whatever, and then it's like, I'm like, could you guys, I tell them to leave, right?
Yeah.
And then once I tell them to leave, they leave the space.
Yeah.
And then once they left the space, it was like I was able to control the energy in the space. And there was no music, but like my voice and what I was saying, people listened to what I was saying.
Oh, wow.
And people were connecting with me and moving in a different way that I didn't see. So then for me, it was kind of like one of those things where it was like, it's like, this could either, your voice could either be like a distraction
I see what you're saying.
in space, or it could be something that has some level of impact that moves people, makes a difference. So what are you going to do? You know,
get rid of the red and blue.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things. But the red and blue is the world. It's the sirens, right? It's the red matrix. It's the sirens. It's the things that, it's the polarity, the masculine, feminine energy, all the stuff that gets people excited and the fight, right? That's the fight. That's, we like you just said, everyone wants to see a fight. It's like, rah, 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 rah. That's what is attractive. And that's usually what our entertainment is. It's a fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, if somebody isn't cussing somebody out or attacking anybody.
Love that shit.
You know? It's
housewives of everywhere.
Yeah, housewives everywhere, yeah. But like, you know, but like beyond that, there's another space. And there's another reality that you can operate in that may have a deeper impact. And so I'm trying to figure out what that space is. And so
you're moving towards some revolutionary thinking.
Yeah, and that was something that just came, and like I've been like allowing that to germinate in space and being like, okay, like let's see what that's about in that process. And
that's powerful, man. Once you own that, and you know you own that, it's over, man. It can't be stopped.
Yeah, because it's a different type of it's like you're not speaking based upon like what you're seeing, you're speaking from somewhere else, and also understanding that like there's a deeper connect, you know?
Based on nobody else's expectations.
Yeah, based on it doesn't matter. This is like a completely original idea. This is something that's coming, it's not based off of like...
real ownership.
Yeah, it's like we're not trying to do that, we're trying to do something different. And when you're trying to do something different, it requires a different energy and a different approach. And so you gotta be willing to go about it different ways. And I think that, especially within art and how people have been everyone's looking for a way in which to connect, because or offer something in a way that would benefit. Benefit. Yeah. So it's just like trying to look for the best way in which to share myself or share what I have, and hopefully I feel like I trust the process that it will align, because like this is a bigger conversation. This is bigger than me. This is not something like, you know, you don't do art because it's not a choice. It's something that was like not everyone can do what you do.
For real.
So it's like it was offered to you to do it. So how can you do the best with what you've been given and utilize it in the best way? And that's kind of like where I'm at. And hopefully I'm making those choices with the content that I'm going to put out, and also with like what best represents me or where I'm at. And that's hold me accountable. I don't know, hopefully.
You know what you could do?
It's important.
You know what would be a good idea for you?
Mike's fucking ideas nonstop.
You start a podcast about relationships and love or whatever. Yeah. And at the end of every podcast, this comes on, right? And then you sing, you drop a single. At the end of every podcast, you talk, you give a commentary.
Well, that might actually be in the works. I don't want to say too much about
don't say it.
about certain things, but there are certain things and opportunities and platforms that are currently being cultivated right now.
Multimedia.
And definitely, and
Don't let no one sabotage it with their
well, not
bullshit
exactly.
energy.
Say that again.
Yes,
Say that again.
keep quiet until
You know
it's
what I mean?
ready to be.
Thank you for that. That's people need
People
to
are
know that.
motherfuckers.
People need to know.
Energy
Like,
vampires.
so just be mindful. That's why it's like when people say when you're gonna, it's like I would when it comes, when it's the right time, and when it happens.
From your side, it's ready.
But from my side, I really felt like there's some songs that I listen to that I'm like I really messed with this, even though it's not even mine.
Yeah.
Like it's like I listen to it like it's not even mine.
That's
I'm
the
like,
only way.
I'm like this is actually like this is dope. Yeah. Like regardless of myself,
what better feeling is it?
I would support that.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's
so, and that's
huge.
And that's the goal. That's the goal. Like to really be like
be your own fan.
To step away outside of yourself and be like, that's dope.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about like working with other people. Like I'm excited for this conversation. Yeah. And hopefully I'll be brought back.
Or we come to you next time.
Yes.
That's what we want to try and start coming to people.
Yes.
In their own space.
Because this is a great platform. Like the conversations is lit. Like,
we go to some interesting places for sure.
Very intelligent individuals. So it's like a very great space.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is a happy space. We keep only positive energy in this space as much as possible.
Yeah. I felt really supported. Like the whole entire conversation. It was
Well, we got a top 3 that we like to throw at people, and for me, this top 3 is I think it's gonna suit you perfect. Once you transition out of this life, move on to the next. You get to choose 3 artist catalog to take with you.
Oh.
You get the whole catalog, but you can only choose 3 artists.
Oh wow.
Who do you take?
That's amazing. That's a really
because this is eternity now.
It's eternity.
Yes.
Well, like the man that's put out so much music, Prince, is just like there. You know, like so, I don't even think it'd be eternity. You wouldn't even listen to all of the stuff that he has.
The master.
Wow, that's such a big question.
Yes.
I'm trying to be like.
You gotta be real.
Yeah.
Honest.
I
you could say Dolly Parton right now. We don't even give a shit.
No, Dolly Parton's a vibe, but I grew up listening to Dolly. My mom loves her. Silver and gold, man.
Oh shit.
Silver and gold. Let's call them many colors.
Call them many colors.
Yeah, call them many colors. Yeah.
Me.
Jolene. But I'd say Prince. I would say like people that I really resonate with, like Jay-Z. I resonate with, like real, like. You know, Jay-Z.
It's like good body of music right there.
Yeah, Jay-Z can you can dissect a lot of things there. Like it doesn't end within that. So that's a win. I think those are the type of artists that I'd be looking for, and I'd probably say need some female energy in here.
It's a toughie, man. To pick a female, that'd be really hard.
It really is.
Because that's the woman you're going to be hearing yell at you for the rest of your existence.
Or sing to you beautiful.
Or sing to you, but generally probably won't be. It'll be that's talking about how much she hates dudes. See, that would be the other thing. I don't want to be an eternity with a girl who's been jaded by some fucking dude.
No breakup music. And love music.
You know what I mean? I don't want to hear it. Like Tony Braxton. You imagine having only Tony Braxton for like,
I think it's a mix. It's if the people that resonate with me, I say Mariah Carey.
Oh, nice, nice. That's a gorgeous one.
Yeah,
to take, for sure.
I would say just because the catalog is real expensive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
You dance to
you dance to it. You can like. That's what I'm thinking about. Like I'm thinking about the artists with the catalogs. That you can just be like
cover generations.
You know, you can be like, I'm gonna, you know.
Prince has been mentioned many times.
Mariah and
Jay-Z.
Yeah. All right, out of those 3 individuals, which one of those 3 do you think suffered the most trauma in their life? Which one of those 3? Because those 3 each suffered special trauma. Yeah. You think about it, and they're so great. And they made it through.
Yeah.
Hey?
They all did. They all
made it through. Even though Prince had a rough ending.
Fucked up childhood.
Yeah, Prince had, Mariah Carey had fucked up childhood.
Yeah.
Jay-Z had his
They all
situation.
have a common bond that they all had trauma. Do you?
Yeah.
You think about it.
Well, I think that's where the genius comes.
From trauma.
Because it's like you really just end up creating another reality. It's just like all y'all hate me, so I'm just gonna go create another alter ego, another space that I'm just gonna go into. Like it's like sometimes when you come at people so hard, they just shut the door. It's just like, which is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
The agency, where you get to the point where like I had enough. We all say whatever the hell you wanted to say about me. I'm not taking any more goddamn opinions. It's the doors closed.
For real.
You know what I mean? And the only person I'm checking in with is myself and the universe. That's who I'm holding myself accountable to. And that's what they had in an early age. Like, that's what I feel like they all had. It's like they realized that, like, there's no one's gonna support you, and so you just gotta go after what you gotta go after. And you just,
Jay had like an empire, man. As a teenager, he had an empire
you're
already.
just gonna go. But that hunger, that New York hunger, like they have that,
So
like,
nice,
you just gotta go after what you want. Like
Damn right.
they're not waiting until like, oh, I want to wait till I'm 30 and then I'm gonna go. No, they're like, no, like I'm 11 and I want this now. Like I know I deserve better things now. Like I'm not gonna wait.
The question Mike normally asks after that question is, what happens in the afterlife for you?
Well, no. That's not what I asked.
Oh.
You have to be very specific.
Right.
What happens when you die? What happens when you die?
What happens? I will never die.
I see that.
Why would you say that?
Because that's the awareness that I know to be true in the realist space. I think that I had a fear of death. I thought that that there's an end, but there's not an end. Like you're just always here. You know, there's transitions, but you're always here regardless through and through. And I think that's where it's just like, that's once you have that awareness, it's like, well, you're just doing now.
Yeah.
You're just doing. It's not like even when you're talking, when I be like, oh, I'm trying to do impactful things, right, and all that type of stuff. It's like, well, there's no rush. Sometimes maybe that may take 2 lifetimes for you to get that together. You know, or whatever. But like you're not gonna die. Like we just continue to expand and evolve, and I learned that through an experience that I had, because when I had an experience, and that was the main thing within my experience, that was like I was afraid of the most, and I was afraid of that because the experience that I had brought out the fear. Like, and the main only fear that it came up was like, oh my God, I want to die, whatever. And it was just like, you're not gonna die.
Okay, before you go any further, because we try to do like a live, Insta live. So while you keep talking, I'm gonna go live here.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to clarify.
Yeah.
With this question.
Okay.
That eventually, the cell being that you are will burn out. The cells will burn out. And eventually you'll be old. Eventually one day you'll be sitting there maybe talking grandkids or other old people, talking about how it used to be. And slowly those people will fade and disappear one day, and then you'll be just there kind of all alone. And one day you will disappear off this planet Earth, and you will not be walking this Earth. For many centuries. You won't. It will be gone. So then you will die. What happens after that?
Like physical transition.
No, just like what happens? Is it over? Is it just over? Or?
I don't think it's over at all. I think that there's, to be honest with you, I think that like I said, life goes on. Life cannot be.
Yeah, but you're dead. Like what happens to you? Do you have a spirit that goes somewhere?
Like I think, like I said, I think that you know, everyone says we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and that, you know, I believe that this space that we live in, you know, there's all of that stuff. But I feel like, you know, there's a halo over your head.
Well, this is a very interesting question, because this question really shows people's perspective.
I saw that.
Yeah. I would say, I think honestly, when it comes to transitioning, I think a lot of people live their life so afraid of death that they don't live, and so they're already dead. So when we're talking about when you die, it's just like, well, one can see like how you living right now. If you ain't really about actually living, you're dead. You know, if you're not leaning into the experience, then you're not utilizing the experience. So a lot of people are afraid of something that is actually already happening and that actually experiencing. It's just like they don't want to know the actual truth of the thing that you're already dead. You know, so now that you know you're dead, how about you focus on the...
You're smart though. See, he's smart.
Well,
he danced around the question.
What essentially he's saying is that the physical death is meaningless. Essentially, what he's saying. Because
okay, but what happens then? I just want to know from people what happens. What happens when you die? What happens when you die? Does something happen? I personally think. Am I still self-aware? Am I still aware? Am I?
Yes,
I think. Am I just invisible
what
now?
I heard from what I heard is that you, depending on how you function in this experience, will determine whether you will remember or not. If you utilize this experience in the most effective way, whatever that meaning, whatever that is for you, because everyone has different journeys in this experience, so nobody's wrong within whatever choices.
Yeah, no one's wrong.
It may be like this experience for you to be the worst person, and that's what you needed to learn from this incarnation or whatever that experience. So if you're utilizing it, the relevance of you will continue to go on. But if you are not honoring what you've been given, then it's kind of like, well, that doesn't need to continue. You know, it's like anything has a life opportunity to transform and to expand from that point. And death is just, I see it as a transition or a release, so you can have a bigger conversation. Because like one day you may be like, I want to have a bigger reality than just being in this space. Like I've utilized all of my experience and time in this space, and maybe I want to dream a bigger dream or whatever that is. And I think that's when that will be what that be. But like I think that
so you think it's our choice to make?
I think yes, I think that understanding that we do have the responsibility to decide when things happen for us based upon some level of agency that I would like to believe. I think that if I didn't say, like, nobody knows, it's like that thing is like nobody knows when things are going to happen, but you can influence whether something's going to happen or not.
Right. With intentions, for sure.
You know? So if you're just like, it's like, you know, that's
bars.
Bars.
Some enlightening conversation.
That's...
How many podcasts have we had?
This is, wow.
What, you got 50?
About that?
Wow.
I believe I'm 50, you know.
In
with that
the
questions.
you had to go.
Oh, get out of here! No way!
Yes, I believe I'm 50.
No, get out of here! Now you ain't 50 and no.
I
think when you're asking the question of what's gonna happen, you're more so. Do you have an actual your own perception? Yeah, your own perception. Like sometimes people are like, oh, I want to hear the right thing said in order for me to feel that it's gonna be the right answer. But you asked me. You asked me what I thought, and so I can't be wrong in my.
I didn't say you were wrong. I didn't say you were wrong.
Then I'm want to know.
I think Mike wants someone to rock his world with an answer.
No, but this is it. I respect everybody's decision because that's what I believe you should have. When someone's just like, well, I don't know, what do you think? Like when you say that, then it's just like, oh my god, where are you coming from? You need to have an opinion about what happens to you at the potentially
end of life,
worst time of your life.
And I think that, like, in relation to that situation,
think about it.
I respect that too, and I think that that's a great question to ask.
Yeah,
and I don't think a lot of people actually, because one thing is with me, when I know for sure, is like I get the answer when I ask questions, right? And that's not a question that
it's a tough one
that I'm really at this particular moment in time focusing my attention on because I'm focused on utilizing.
Yeah, you're focused on life.
My experience right now, and I think that knowing the answer could influence how you do live your life.
That's what it is.
You know, because if you know what's going to happen post, then you could be like, okay, these are the things I need to do now. Yeah. So that can be very supportive in that.
So people give their life to religion.
Or you live your life like a coward.
Right. When live your life like a coward as well.
Yeah. Right. Happens a lot in society.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is what it is. Everyone.
Brother, I'll tell you mine.
What? Yeah, dude.
It's over.
Blackout.
Oh, is this back to nothingness?
I think that the joy of life, I think that the gift of life is getting the experience while you're consciously awake and you're aware of it. The true gift of life is falling down and getting back up in success. You know, having your heart broken, then falling in love, right? Being poor and then working your way to riches. That is the experience of life, right? That's why they create entertainment and roller coasters and all these ups and downs for us to enjoy, because they see that is how our life truly should be. A complete life is exploring yourself and coming out with this end product. That's
and then
great.
it's like, and what was that for though?
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and
shits and giggles. It's like sex.
you know, like,
It's like sex. Why does sex feel good? Like, why does sex feel good? Why are we only animals?
Well, one person thinks about like the soul, right? You know, and somebody says of what is the soul, you know, like, or what is the ego when you talk about that situation, and like, there's narratives of, well, the ego was created because the all being, if you call it Gaia, the universe, whatever, wanted to experience itself. So it created an idea of a separate self, that I can be separate from all that there is. But that idea is just an idea, and that idea is the ego.
But just through us specifically?
I think through everything. Through
all creation.
I don't know if animals have egos, because I don't know. I'm not an animal, but I think I am also an animal.
Yeah.
So I would extend that to them as well. It may not be as pronounced as us, but there may be some level of self-identity in that, or like, I'm me and that's that. And I think that in relation to that, part of that death would mean like the end of the separation of that. Like there would not be me anymore in that context. Having that
physical.
But that could be like it's over, but I will still be like what I actually truly am, like what I was saying. I'm everything that's deciding to have a personal experience, and then my personal experience is over. I'm still going back to everything.
You're still everything.
Like
that's exactly what I tried to tell him too.
Yeah, that's
the only difference was I believe that we're gonna go back to the stars because we're made of star stuff. So all of our chemicals are stars.
Yeah, but I truly believe we just keep going and going and going. And it's fine, unless, like I said, unless it is like unless it's feudalism, like, because it's like there are certain actions or ways of beings that does not go on, that has to literally die out. You know, just like certain ideas of racism or sexism or phobias to people for whatever reason. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have any credibility that's actually valid beyond personal trauma, so it just has to be removed. So I do believe like those things die. Those things die, and those type of concepts of ideas, but you're not an idea.
No.
You know, you're not really who you are is not an idea. You know, you can be an idea. You know what I mean? And maybe
after you die, you would be an idea.
You would be an idea.
In a sort of,
and someone else
you'd be a memory.
You know?
Anyway.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's how you live on, is you do on your time on Earth, is you leave something.
There you go. That's what we're saying. Or
documentaries.
Or art. You know, or like you create amazing. Like I said, that's why like this podcast could be a capsule that's going to exist in the internet forever.
Yeah.
You know, so and you saying that you're gone, really are you? Somebody can get the essence of you through the work. 100%. Like you live there.
100%.
You know, but you're living somewhere else too.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's an end. I think like there's such a multi-dimensional scope.
I can give him a draw. I give him a draw.
You just don't end. So it's just like
that's a good argument.
You know, and even just like I said, the past yous exist. You know, that's why like you were saying, like I can't get rid of the past me because he exists.
Yeah.
It's a like I realized this year, it's a yes and conversation. It's not about like I was this person. Yeah, I did a whole bunch of crazy things, and I'm doing this now.
Yeah.
And I'm also this, and I'm also that.
Yeah.
People just want to hold you to one particular moment and one thing, which is not the truth. And sometimes you're trying to hold yourself to the situation. Yeah. You're a rap star, and a father, and a husband, and a son, and a coworker, and the list goes on. You know, and all of those exist at one time. You know, and so when people are coming at you for like, oh, you're being inauthentic, or that wasn't it. Well, so based upon who? And are you with me in all my iterations of myself?
Thanks, Gary V.
You know.
You know why you're relating to him? Because he's eloquent.
Yeah,
He's got good prose.
Yeah.
And it keeps you like,
Yes.
Because normally Mike has these really big tangents.
Yeah.
He goes off on. He's been very subdued.
I like it.
No,
I'll listen to somebody intelligent today. I'm not saying our other guests weren't intelligent. They were all
Brilliant
really
people.
intelligent. But I mean, he captivated. He operated the podcast.
Poetic.
I
Yeah.
appreciate
Right,
it.
he took over. I like it when guests take over. Right?
You know, it's a co-creating space.
Yeah,
sure.
That's what it is. We're
That's the
invited-
purpose, man.
That's the
Yeah.
purpose of
100%.
it's about us sharing and that's when people feel like that agency, then they show more.
Yeah.
There's no
Real,
limits
man.
upon the conversation. Yeah.
I'm actually always really amazed at where these conversations go. Because people go to some really interesting places.
I love conversations. I think that this probably is my favorite thing out of all the things that I do is talking and connecting with people because I love learning. And I love learning from people's personal experiences and connecting because I think that point of sharing energy like this, this is another point of how you live forever. You can say something that's so impactful that it resonates with somebody in a deeper place and they carry that and then they pass on to someone else. Life is so expansive, and so I think when we just house it to our bodies, we kind of cut ourselves off from the full expansion of what we can do and who we could be.
It's like what POC said, man. POC said he may not be the one to change the world, but he'll spark the brain.
Totally, and I'm pretty sure he has. And
Sure,
he
man.
has. And that's the thing. That's the thing about with that. When you create art and you see the references of people that made an impact on you and the things that you do, and then it's wow, I really fucked with that guy that much. I really resonate with this dude because you really left that imprint on me, and then I'm regurgitating it.
Yeah.
I'm sharing it again, and that essence of the pop came from somebody. His mother, his mother's mother. That's why it's the same energies are here.
He's got a panther in his DNA, man.
Yeah, the same energies are here. So it's just it's really exciting, to know that that source of energy is accessible at any time. That information is accessible at any time. And some people come and they're that, but you can tap into it.
It takes work.
It takes work, but getting to the point, that's one of the things that I think that is a gift of mine that I'm aware of is shape shifting. And that's part of the shaman healer type of thing.
You mean in the literal sense?
In the sense where you adjust your vibratory frequency to adjust to whatever space you need to be in. So you can have that conversation. And so you can resonate there to offer that word that you need to offer. Because I think that's what a true healer is, a true communicator is the ability to go wherever anybody is in the conversation.
Yeah, that's very important.
And still be able to resonate with them and not lose them.
Yeah, you're dope like that. You can relate to everybody.
Yeah, well, it's just a technique, right? And it's just egoless. Just fucking.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's really just you're a conduit.
No one's better than anyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's.
Because I'm some fucking DMT shit. I haven't been hit with that yet. So
I guess yeah. I don't know, man. If you honestly, I'm still processing experiences. I'm still processing the experience. It was very, very life-changing experience. I'm still processing it. I'm still learning about it. Like I said again, any type of substances that anybody chooses to do, please seek a physician before you do anything. And it's not something that you do recklessly. Yes, it's not something that you do. And I'm advanced in years. My brain is fully developed. I'm an adult.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's consciously taking for my own personal awarenesses, and I think that the connection and awareness that I was left with within that certain experience was just a deeper clarity within myself, or an affirming of myself. And just like I said, the conversation that we had, it's just you're connected to everything.
Did you have the same experience?
Mine was more of went down a fucking wormhole and spiraled through the most nastiest parts of my life as a child. And I went in drunk and I came out sober, drove people home, and it was fucking crazy. It lasted for about 2 weeks. Just the thoughts, the memories of it, and just the impact on it, and now
I think as clear as you are, definitely you go through what is there. I know people that have had experiences because they, let's say there's trauma lingering, so then you have to go through that to get to the other side. You know what I mean? But because I went there really clear, for me, like it was more so personal release, and then I ended up going from a singular individual into connecting fully with the fullness of
So it's like a pleasurable experience
of
for you.
everything. It became it was like a very expansive experience, to the point where like I felt like I was everything.
Damn.
And I could speak to everyone. And then one thing that I realized in that experience is that when I was coming down off the experience, what actually brought me down back into my awareness was when I started to identify with my ego.
Oh,
When I started to identify with it's like, oh, I'm a part of this thing, and then like I'm controlling everything. It's
Poison.
it brought me right down to like another that booted me out. You know, so it was like an understanding that like the level of deeper connection, the more open that you are and willing to hold space for more of you, the more connected you will be. The more willing you're shutting you closed off you are, the more you shut yourself off from the expansiveness that is there. And I think that's the conversation we have every day as human beings is like, are we gonna close that door or are we gonna open it today? I know that somebody that looked like you talked nasty to me yesterday, but am I gonna lock myself off today or am I gonna open it up again? And I think that's and understanding that opening always provides you with more than you do when you are closed. But understanding,
big time.
but sometimes you gotta be closed. So sometimes you gotta go into that space.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I don't. But like one thing that I'm trying to understand is like honoring every experience.
Yeah, I get
you know. And so like when I was not trying to deal with anybody, or when I'm not trying to deal with anybody, it's because I needed to. If I'm not feeling all the way communicative or engaging, that's something I need to honor. That's Rumi, one of my favorite. I love Rumi. Genius. I love Rumi. I think Rumi and me are just like we'd be best friends. Just because like he loves life. Like he's in love with life.
Oh yeah.
Like
you can feel it in every word, man.
And he's just like because he's so in love whenever like the idea is like whenever life offers me any one of its expressions or experiences, I'm willing and open to receiving it. Because I know that life loves me, you know. So if it's whatever it is,
powerful,
I'm gonna let it in. And I also know that I am a temple, and that no guest can stay in the temple. They all come and they go, you know. So all these emotions and feelings have like a gift.
Wow.
It's like rage just knocks on the door and be like, hey, that person said something to you that in the schematic that didn't really sound like it wasn't authentic or honoring who you are. Just be aware of that. Okay.
Wow, crazy.
Thank you for saying it. And rather than being like, no, I don't want any negative feelings. I don't want anybody ruining my positive day. It just needs to be all white spaces and clean and all of that. And like, no. But it's like realistically, it's like, no. It's not. Like some days you need to hear from that part of yourself. And that's when it becomes like you live a healthy life. You know, that's when sometimes that negative part that's always seeing the critical parts of you that you just misnomer it as negative. It actually trying to protect you. It's trying to inform you about like what's going on.
People are ready for that conversation.
You know,
it's way too heavy.
Yeah, and you don't have to react to it.
Yeah.
You don't have to you can just listen to it.
Yeah.
Because you're the king of the castle. You get to run the situation. It's like there's just a counsel.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'll take a note of that. And I know that you only come to me because you love me. And you would only make me aware of that thing because potentially there could be something that could harm me. So I'm going to honor that. And I'll hold it. And then you know what? If it happens again, I'll be like, you know what? You're right. You know what I mean? Thank you for that awareness.
You got to do some life coaching.
You know?
You got to get people in the ear and do some life coaching.
I think that I'm just that person in general. Like, that's just my expression.
Yeah.
I like core care. You know? Yeah. That's my name, core care. So, but I think in general, I was having a conversation with somebody today about that, and they said the same thing to me. But I know there's space for that, and I understand that the right space will emerge, and the right conversation will emerge. It's not something that because this awareness and information is not mine. It's something that I maybe learned from my own personal traumas and journey, and I was then cultivated in a certain way for a reason, and maybe part of that is to share that, and hopefully, if that's what it is, it that will play itself out.
Well, what I can say for sure is one of the ways it's gonna play out is through music.
Yeah,
100%.
I appreciate that.
You sing like a mother for real, man. Yeah, it's great to hear that we have, talent like this that's potentially gonna make Vancouver look really dope.
I would really like to honor the space. I think that's it's so crazy. I went from a place of like, I can't wait to get out of here, to like, because my family, we came with this place. We came from like, as an immigrant into this land. So this place, so you're just like, I wouldn't be here if my country was okay.
100%.
And then so there's all these energies and emotions that you come with, and then you're still processing war. Yeah. You're still processing those experiences, and you don't even know those traumas and things like that are affecting. Like, don't talk to anybody, don't share anybody, don't tell anybody what's going on with you. Be quiet, but keep all the stuff. Like all these sorts of things, just because of war. Yeah. That's what happened. You know what I mean? But you haven't adjusted that you're not there. Wow. And so people don't understand, and sometimes when people come from other countries, they're processing a lot of stuff. And then you're coming at me because I'm black, or because I speak funny, or because I don't eat the food that you do. And it's like, you don't even understand what the levels of things that I'm trying to process through, sir. You know what I mean? Like the levels that people are going through, it's like, let's add some grace in the space. And I think that people don't take that in consideration, but I think that hopefully people will start to realize that and give people the benefit of the doubt and offer people like. It's
really hard to relate to war when your fucking coffee is cold, okay?
Yeah.
My coffee is cold, that's important. Fuck your war, right? That's kind of the reality.
Yeah. It's like, it is. And then you talking to the person who is serving you, but they literally lost their whole entire reality. Yep. Like their whole life. They have a master's degree, but they came here and they can't utilize it because they're not going to be hired because they're of African descent, and because they don't honor their institution and want them to go back into school. And then it's like there's all these things that people have to deal with, and I think that having these conversations is important because they're enlightening.
Yeah, in that shit.
People don't know like how sometimes people are stacked in a certain way. So then you're like, oh, she's a bitch. Like this black girl, she always giving me attitude. Do you really know what's going on there?
I don't get it.
Do you really know what's going on there?
No, people don't.
You don't know what's going on. This person's just trying to make it through the day. Yeah. It's not about you.
Dude, pain's so relative, man. Everyone thinks that their trauma is the worst trauma, right? Yeah. People that have no trauma want trauma, so they can say that they.
Yeah, so they can. Yeah. And the chances are, it's like the people who are creating trauma for other people. 100%. The traumatizers want the trauma. Yeah. Well, but then when it's like, okay, I'm gonna let you know what you did to me. That's gonna traumatize you, but you don't want to hear that.
Dude, reverse racism is the perfect example of this kind of idiocy that we have in our society. Yeah. Nonsense.
Yeah, and I think that even too, people hearing other people's truths, it's just like.
It does. It's starting to affect people now.
It's like, because that's all it is. Like, it's real empathy. It's just like, wow, you were actually going through that. Meanwhile, when you were sitting in class with me, you had all these, like, you were like the real Hannah Montana. You had freaking 2 lives going. In the household, you have to be this person. In the street, you got to be this. You code switching and moving. And then at the same time, between that, you have to somehow be yourself. Or try to discover
what that is.
So maybe the only grace and point in your reality that you have is just that walk that you have from the job to the car, from the car to the house. Because once you get in the house, you gotta switch. Once you get out of the house, and people are going through that, and it's just like that's when it gets fun. Like, okay, like we talk about it because we want to highlight it and be like, there's other ways of doing things.
Well, this may be the first time that a lot of people hear that specific perspective.
Yeah, totally.